Okay, welcome everybody. Breaking into AI and data science. I'm really very sorry. There was a little bit of problem in my computer. So we are finally on the right path. We are welcome everybody to the Breaking into AI and data science. This is a virtual event. And this event is powered by deeplearning.ai. And what are the main goals and the objectives of this virtual event is we are providing the high scholars of Nepal with a great exposure with speakers who are the experts in artificial intelligence and data science in their respective field. And in this virtual event, we will be providing them with the exposure and they will have the great path in order to learn the artificial intelligence and data science. I hope you will have a great time here. So before starting with artificial intelligence and data science, I would like to hype you up with the applications of artificial intelligence and data science. What are the objectives and why should we learn the artificial intelligence and data science? And by the way, I'm also the machine learning student. I will also have a great time. I hope you will also have a great time here. And I'm really sorry if I am making any mistake here due to this technical problems. And I would like to welcome everybody. And I'm very sorry that I don't have the specific name to announce here. If I'm missing that, I'm really very sorry for that. And this program is powered by deeplearning.ai. So let's get started with the applications of artificial intelligence and data science. What are the applications of data science? Why should I learn the artificial intelligence and data science? The first and foremost, everybody knows that the Facebook photo uploading system uses the facial recognition system. Once you upload your photo and it finds out who are your friend and tag them automatically. This is the great use of machine learning algorithm that Facebook is doing. And this is a kind of a sport that uses your action, your body action, and find out what are your actions and use the machine learning algorithm and make sure without using the joystick and any other input media, it automatically provides you with a great experience. So this is the kind of sport, one of the machine learning algorithm. And virtual reality headset, everybody knows that it also uses the machine learning algorithms. And we have the voice recognition and text to speech and speech to text. I think this feature is already available in iPhone, and I think the Android also supports that. This is also a machine learning application. And we all know these robot dogs. They use the reinforcement learning. Like human beings, they learn from doing. We do not give them a specific instruction to do something, but they learn themselves to walk. It's a great part and method of machine learning. It uses reinforcement learning. And we have Facebook ads. Facebook ads know much more about us than we know ourselves. And Amazon uses that, and Netflix also uses, and YouTube also uses it, provide you the recommendation and make you loophole about watching your videos and all that stuff. So this was a tiny bit of application of artificial intelligence and data science. I know there are a lot of applications of data science, artificial intelligence and data science. Artificial intelligence and data science is all about making the world a better place. And you are here in this June session to bend and have a knowledge about it. So we will having a great time here. So what are the topics that we talk about? We will talk about here. The first and foremost, we will talk about the life cycle. I'm sorry if I'm making any, there's technical stuff, so I'll restart it once again. I'm very sorry for that. So the first part of this session, we will talk about life cycle of data science project. And the second part, we'll talk about getting with the data science, how to actually get started with data science. Data science is the core concept that you should understand in order to get started with artificial intelligence data science. If you cannot play with data, then you are done with artificial intelligence. If you cannot use the data in the perfect way, then you cannot use the artificial intelligence and data science for a purpose. The third part is based career learning paths for data science, how to exactly get started with data science, as data science is the key important aspect of artificial intelligence and machine learning. For the fourth part, we will talk about leveraging AI and data science for social good, how we are going to use our artificial intelligence model, the machine learning models to make great use in our social life and making the world a better place. That is what is the aspect of artificial intelligence and any other field in human beings' life. So who are the event speakers? Everybody, the speakers of this event are the expert in this field. They practice what they preach, and they are really great at their field. Avishkar Chetri, software and machine learning engineer at Microsoft. Suraj Rigmi, data scientist at World Bank. Amit Timalsina, the organizer of this program, is the advanced technology intern at Fidutam and co-founder and AI lead at YSC, Young Scientist Community. And Surendra Bikram Thapa, deep learning at CERN. So Avishkar Chetri, he will talk about life cycle of data science project. How are the data science project curated from the imagination to the actual product? And getting started with data science, as I already said, data science is the key core concept of machine learning. And Amit Timalsina will talk about best career learning path for AI and data science. For us, this is the best part, as we want to know about the resources of data science learning. What are the resources that we can take action right now, right today, to get started with artificial intelligence and data science. And for Surendra Bikram Thapa, he will talk about leveraging AI and data science for social good. This is the most important part. If you don't know what I'm going to use this skill for, you are done. So leveraging AI and data science is also a good thing here. So who is the chief guest? Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari, Executive Director, Research Center for Applied Science and Technology, RECAST, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu. He's a great person. He provided us with a lot of help in making this presentation. I really express my gratitude towards Mr. Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari, sir. So who are the patrons who supported in making this program happen, this session happen? Research Center for Applied Science and Technology, RECAST, is one of our patrons, and Young Scientist Community is also one of our patrons. We are really pleased with them, and we express our gratitude for their help and support. So let's break into AI and data science. This is 26th September for High Scholars of Nepal. We are talking about data science and artificial intelligence for our High Scholars of Nepal. So we have a video from deeplearning.ai where Angie will talk us about the things that are important about this session. So let's get started with it. So if you are not hearing any sound, let me know that.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew.
So I think you aren't audible.
And I'm excited.
Sorry?
Your video is audible. Your video isn't audible.
Okay. I'll make it happen.
It's audible. Thank you.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew, founder of deeplearning.ai, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community.
Is this video audible?
Welcome. I'd like to show you around the deeplearning.ai offices and meet some of the teams so they can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pine AI what you do at deeplearning.ai?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I make articles and other media that help people learn about AI and help them understand the huge impact that AI is having in the world. Today, I'm putting together the next issue of The Batch, our weekly newsletter, and I'm looking for the biggest stories of the week to keep our readers informed.
What's been the most surprising thing you've run into working on The Batch?
How much is going on in this field? There is never a dull moment. You might think from the outside that machine learning engineers really understand everything about AI, but nobody understands everything about AI because this field is just coming to life right before my eyes as I put this thing together every week.
All right, I know you're really busy, so I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks. See you later.
Let's go meet Kian, who helped me create the deep learning specialization. He's working on an exciting new project. Hey Kian, so do you want to tell the people at Pine AI what you're working on?
Yes, sure. I'm leading a project called Workera, focusing on helping people get offers in AI and navigating their career by testing their skills, preparing for interviews and certifying them, as well as matching and referring them to good jobs in AI.
That's really cool. And what's the most exciting part of your day?
You know, the AI field is new. Organizations and jobs are still misunderstood. So I'm excited to help people understand what different types of jobs exist in the field, what tasks they will work on, and what skills are needed to achieve those tasks.
That's really important work. Well, it's nice chatting. And now let's go chat to Butwal, who is on their product team.
Hey, Andrew.
Do you want to say hi to our friends at Pine AI and let them know what you're working on?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I lead the product team in deeplearning.ai, where we create AI education content accessible to people all around the world. People like you.
And what are you most excited about right now?
I am so excited to see our community grow and to see how eager people are to learn more about AI.
Thanks, also.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, as you can see, our team is working hard to support you and help you learn. It's never been easier than before to break into AI. So if you want to build a career, you can leverage online resources available, including open source code, datasets, papers, and online courses like a deep learning specialization on Coursera. As part of this journey, I hope you get your hands dirty too. Don't be afraid of diving in to build your own project, or go ahead and try to replicate a research paper that you're excited about. One thing that I've seen help a lot of people succeed is if you can build a community or find a community of fellow deep learners you can meet with and study with on a regular basis. In fact, I hope that this Pine AI meetup that you're at right now will be a good place for you to meet these people. I hope you enjoyed the event today and that you learn a lot, both from the talks and from each other. And once again, welcome to the deeplearning.ai community.
So that was it about the deeplearning.ai. Now we are at 11:19, and this is the right spot. Everything is going according to our schedule. So let's break into AI and data science. We have our speakers here, and I think according to our schedule, we have the first speaker, Avishkar Chhetri. I think he's here. Is he? Avishkar Chhetri. He's going to talk about.
Wait for a while. I think he's in present right over here in the current situation.
And he was supposed to talk about life cycle project of artificial intelligence and data science.
Excuse me. I request the host to please unmute the speakers who are Avishkar Chhetri, Surendra Bikram Thapa,
Yes,
and
yes. Yeah, please unmute them.
Can you please unmute him?
Avishkar, he's
Hello.
here.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Hello everyone. I would love it if someone could give me access to share my screen so that I could, okay, I think I am able to do that, so no worries. Can everyone see my slide deck?
Yeah.
And okay, cool. So, hello everyone. Let me first actually start by saying it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm going to make this presentation fairly accessible to everyone. So if you're not familiar with data science, AI, and you're just getting into the field, don't you worry. This is going to be super accessible to everyone. If I sound a little tired, I apologize. It's around 1:30 a.m. in the eastern coast of the US. So the timing is a little bit off, but I hope I still sound all right. So let me begin by introducing myself, since most of you probably don't know me. Okay, so my name is Avishkar. I live in Boston. I was born in Jhapa, Nepal, and did my early schooling in Kathmandu before I moved to the United States with my family. So I recently graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where I studied computer science and statistics. I currently work as a software engineer at Microsoft's AI Development Acceleration Program, where I help design and implement AI solutions for internal Microsoft teams. So if you're curious, this is what my day-to-day life looks like. Well, rather what it looked like before Corona pushed us to start working from home. But that's enough about me. Let me actually start by talking about the topic that you're here for, which is data science. But you know what? I think data science can be a little complicated sometimes. So let me start by sharing a story about a time where data science helped me solve a problem, and you might be able to sort of approach it better. So June of 2019, after I graduated from college, I went to Kathmandu to do a project. I worked with this organization called OLE Nepal. And some of you might be familiar with the organizations or have heard of it from some means. I worked with OLE Nepal to develop educational games for middle school students. And while I was in Nepal, one weekend I met up with a friend, an old friend of mine, back when I was in Nepal, and he told me that there's this really good momo place that I had to check out. So I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and try it. So this place was called Everest Momo, and I'm not overemphasizing when I say that the Jhol momo that I had at this place, it was absolutely the best momo I've ever had. It was actually so good that after I came back to the States, I kept thinking about it. I missed it so much that I went to almost every Nepali restaurant that I knew of that sold Jhol momo. But one after the other, nothing just came close to how wonderful the momo was at Everest Momo. So I said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm gonna make the momo myself. So I went to the kitchen and I tried making a Jhol momo. But my first try was really bad, but I was really determined to cook a Jhol momo that was as close to the momo at Everest as possible. So what I realized was this process of trying to replicate this recipe is kind of similar to how I used data science to solve problems at work. And I'm not trying to like force this. Bear with me as I try to draw this comparison. I decided to try, why not try and use data science to solve this problem, to recreate this delicious Jhol momo that I had at Everest Momo. So before I talk about how I replicated this amazing recipe using data science, let me first explain how data science works, so everybody is on the same page. So there's data that exists in the world. Everybody here is probably familiar with what data is, so I don't need to explain that. In data science, what we do is we assume that the data that exists comes from some theoretical true distribution, but we do not know what this true distribution is. So instead, what we do is we try to use this data, whatever data that we have available to us, and try to replicate the true distributions and make predictions about it. But if that sounds a little convoluted, let me ask you a question. Forget about Momo for just a second. Who has more fans, Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi? Well, we might not know the exact answer, but there is a theoretical distribution of the amount of people who like Messi and the amount of people who like Ronaldo. Even though we don't know the true distribution, we can still use data science to try and figure out the answer to this question. So for example, say one approach to solving this problem, trying to figure out this true distribution, is say you randomly go out on the street and ask 100 random people who their favorite player is, or whether they prefer Ronaldo or Messi. And we can analyze this data to try to come up with a probability distribution. Say you ask 100 people and 60% of them said they like Ronaldo, 40% of them said they like Messi. Based on this, we can probably infer things about the true distribution. In this case, the sample size is very small. We only asked like 100 people. But if we had randomly asked, say, 10,000 people or 1,000,000 people, and still 60% of them said that they like Ronaldo over Messi, then we can pretty confidently say that more people like Ronaldo than Messi, with some level of confidence. If we asked 1,000,000 people and that's the result that we got. So that, in a way, is data science in a nutshell. And what I realized was there is this theoretical recipe that will make the perfect Jhol momo, the Jhol momo that is exactly the same one like the one at Everest Momo. But I do not know that recipe. So, but what I can do is I can use data science to try and replicate the recipe experiment. And this is how I did it. So this was my strategy. I started with a standard recipe for how to make Jhol momos. I cooked a first version, like I said, based on that particular standard recipe. And then I cooked the momo. I served it to myself. I tasted it. And I tried to note down all of the different ways in which it was different from the Jhol momo at Everest Momo. And based on those notes, I tried to improve the recipe. So if it was a little less salty, I modified the recipe to have more salt. If I felt that it was a little bit less sweet, I added maybe different ingredients to balance out the flavor. And then I cooked again. And ultimately, I tested it out with a group of people who had already been to Everest Momo. Right. So this strategy, and I'll revisit this strategy. So if you don't completely understand it, don't worry. I'll come back to this. So this strategy was inspired by the data science process. And in data science, when there's a problem or you want to gain a certain insight about your data, there are different steps that you need to go in order to solve this problem or gain that insight. So these steps can include things like data collection, data cleaning, feature engineering, modeling, validation, and testing. And if these words aren't familiar to you, don't worry. I'll go over each of these steps and explain them later as I go through the different steps that I personally took to replicate the Everest Momo recipe. So going back to the Momo, there are 3 basic steps to replicate the recipe of Everest Momo. There's cooking part. You can cook you need to first cook the Momo, and then there's the tasting part where you validate the Momo, note down the differences between what you just cooked and the ideal Momo that you have in your mind. And then again, based on that difference, you improve the recipe, you go back, cook it again, and continue this process until you feel confident to test this recipe against a group of people who have already been to, say, Everest Momo before, and they can say whether it's similar to or different from the memory that they have of the Momo reaction. So let's go there step by step. The first step is cooking the Momo. And cooking the Momo itself involves a lot of different steps. So let's go over those first. So, and as I'm going through these steps, I'm gonna make sure you understand the data science parallel behind the steps, which is the inspiration. So the first step in making the Momo is collecting the ingredients. And it's pretty straightforward, right? You just go grocery shopping if you want to collect ingredients to make Momo. The parallel process in the data science world where you collect data is called data ingestion. In the previous example, we got our data by just asking random people, whether they like Messi or Ronaldo. But oftentimes it's not that simple. The data can be anywhere. It can be in Wikipedia, it could be in someone's hard drive, it could be on Facebook, it could be anywhere. So in many cases, you might have to collect these data through computer programs that constantly check for available data and collect them on schedule every hour, every day, every week. And this is also called data scraping, which is a very popular way of collecting data. By the way, I just want to mention, since we have limited amount of time, if you have any questions, just note them down. I'll I'll have a time for question and answers at the end of the presentation. So unfortunately, I won't be able to take questions in the during the middle of the presentation. But yeah, so I mentioned data scraping, right? But there are many other ways to collect data, but I'll leave that to your imaginations. So once you have the ingredients or data, the next question is, where do you put it? And in the momo world, you put it in a cabinet or a vegetable basket, wherever you store your vegetables. But in the data science world, you put data in something called a database. And a database is a place where you organize and store your data. And there are different kinds of databases, but I'm not going to talk about that in this talk. If you're interested, you can easily find that information online. There are different ways to structure data. It's a fascinating topic in itself. But now let's move on to after you collected the ingredients and after you've stored them in a cabinet or basket, what do you do? Well, you need to first clean the ingredients. It's pretty basic, but you don't want dirt and stems to end up in the momo, right? So similarly, on the data science world, not every data that you collect via scraping is going to be useful. So in the data science world, there's often a step dedicated to cleaning the data, which means removing unnecessary information. In the previous example, when we randomly asked people whether they like Ronaldo or Messi, imagine you ask this one person, who their favorite player is, and they start telling you about how they are the biggest Barcelona fan and they've been to the stadium and taken a picture with Messi. You would not record every piece of that information, right? Because it's not relevant. Same idea here. Not every data that you collect is important. So naturally, you want to clean that data away from the data that you actually need for the model. So once you have collected the ingredients and once they have been cleaned, they need to be cut, obviously, because it's very hard to cook a momo with an entire cabbage. You need to break them down or cut them into small pieces. So what we need to do is, on the momo world, you cut the cabbage, onions, tomatoes, other vegetables into small pieces so that they can be stuffed in the momo or used for the soup. Similarly, in the data science world, data needs to be transformed, because remember, in data science, we want the model. We're trying to model the theoretical distribution, and by creating some sort of an experimental model. And in order to test or evaluate that model, we need to make sure that we can insert the data into the model to get some prediction or output. So to do this, we often encode something called encode the data in a different form, because computers and models don't understand data like we do. So you can, there are different ways to encode data such that it is transferred into a model. You can convert a data point into a vector with one data point and n-1 zeros, where n is the size of the vector. It's also called one-hot encoding. Another very common way of transforming data is converting a word to an array of numbers, right? You and I, we understand words. We understand what they mean, but computers and computer models don't understand words. So they need to convert words into numbers. And these numbers are called vectors. Vectors or matrix, so there are different ways of going about converting words to vectors in a way that computers can understand, and that's a whole different topic. If you're interested, you can ask it in the questions, but I'll stop at that. There are other cases where different kinds of transformations in the data are used. If the data is of a very high dimension, for example, if you're working with genetic data, there are a lot of sparse data, which means data where most of the entries are zero and only contain some useful information. In that case, you use something called dimensionality reduction to reduce the size of your data and the amount of memory that's needed to process it. So that was a lot of information, and if you're confused, it's fine. Stick with the parallel. once we have all of the ingredients cut, it's time to make the momo and prepare the soup for the Jhol. So to do this, in the momo world, what do? We simply follow the standard recipe, whatever we started off with. Similarly, on the data science world, once we have prepared our data, we need to fit it into a standard model, just like it's kind of like the standard recipe. And examples of this standard model include things like k-nearest neighbor algorithm, linear regression model, decision trees, more advanced neural networks. Then in the picture here, in the bottom right, towards the left, you can see the data and on the right, you can see the colored boundaries generated by the k-nearest neighbor algorithm. And it's generating those boundaries to predict which cluster that a given data falls under. So if we have a new data in the future that occurs somewhere in the, say, top left side of the figure, we can see that the model is going to cluster it into the red category. So this is just an example of how one model fits to a particular data set so that it can more accurately predict future outcomes. So that's the idea behind model fitting. Now that we've, on the momo side, now that we've made the momo, let's try and improve it. So I think before improving the momo, it's a little bit easier to try and improve the soup. Well, as you can imagine, improving the soup is pretty straightforward. You taste the soup, you and add any ingredients based on how it tastes. So if it's plain, we add salt. If it's too spicy, maybe even use a little bit of lemon to sort of cut the spice. In the parallel data science world, this process of like fine tuning things, adding salt, adding lemon here and there, just to make sure the hypothetical, the experimental model that you're trying to achieve is closer to the theoretical model, is called hyperparameter tuning. I mean, essentially, it means that improving the model by making small changes in the parameters or the inner workings of the model, with a goal to improve the accuracy of the, like I said, the closeness to the theoretical or true distribution. So this is similar to adding, like I said, a little bit of salt, trying the soup, adding a little bit more, trying it again until it tastes right, until it tastes like the delicious Jhol momo that I had at Everest Momo. So once we've improved the soup, I think we're ready to try and improve the momo. So improving the momo, pretty similar to improving the soup. You taste the momo yourself and try to figure out how it differs from the momo at Everest Momo. Basically, you can break down the entire flavor profile of the momo that and try to sort of distinguish it from Everest Momo. So this includes answering questions like, how is it different than Everest Momo in terms of its spice level, in terms of its bitterness, saltiness, how sour it is, how sweet it is. And these are the different dimensions of taste. And once you identify the difference in each dimension, you can sort of add ingredients or subtract ingredients to make the recipe more similar to the one at Everest Momo. And I realize I'm saying Everest Momo way too much. It's making me think of it. And once you figure out these differences in every dimension, what you can do is you can write it down, modify the recipe, and make it more similar. So in the data science world, how we improve the model is that we feed the data into the model and we try to see if it can create accurate predictions for some validation data set. It's a separate data that we've identified as something that we need to test the model over. If it produces the wrong predictions, we try to note down how we can improve the model such that it performs better during the next cycle. Now, it's important to note that in many, specifically machine learning models, this feedback cycle of testing and then going back and improving the model automatically happens in the fitting phase when it's fitting to the data set. So essentially, machine learning models learn how to improve by themselves. That's why they're called, that's why it's called machine learning. You know, it's a machine or a model learning how to improve itself. Kind of sounds cool, right? I also want to highlight another key insight here. In order to make this really good momo, or make a really good model, the key here is iterative improvement. You know, that's the crux of modern data science. On the momo side, you make the improvements to the recipe, cook using that recipe, taste it. Again, you know, I've said it, you know, multiple times. It's that constantly making small improvements in the recipe and trying it out, figuring out the difference, trying it again. And you see what I mean, right? So it's that constant improvement. So that's the key in the data science world as well. So once we have a satisfying recipe or a satisfying model, what's next? So naturally, once you feel like you're ready and you've iterated through multiple rounds and you're ready, you go to the testing phase. So you might be asking, how do I test a momo? I briefly mentioned it earlier. The goal here is to determine whether the momo we have cooked is similar to the target momo that we're aiming for. And the way to do that is, one way to do that is contact all the people that you know that have gone to Everest Momo before, and make them taste the momo that you have just created, right? And calculate what percent of the people say that the momo is similar and what percent say that it's different. And that would be the accuracy or the performance of our recipe. Similarly, on the flip side, in the data science world, the way to evaluate a model is by calculating what portion of the test data that you correctly make the right prediction for. So in the picture on the bottom right, you can see a graph. Say it's the daily temperatures from August to December of 2020. And the chain test divide that is indicated by the little arrow is today, September 26th. So what's happening here is that we are feeding the daily temperatures from August till September 26th to the machine learning model and letting it learn itself. And we then ask the model to predict the daily temperatures till December. Now you might be wondering, how would I test the accuracy of that model? One way to do that is simply wait till December. You know, you're making the model predict temperatures between September 26th to December. So why not wait until December so that you have the actual values for the temperatures, and look back at the prediction that the machine learning model made and take the differences between the predicted and the actual temperatures that we observe. And in the machine learning world, this process is called calculating the loss or the error. And the whole idea behind data science is figuring out smart ways of minimizing this error. So before I tell you about the results of my momo test, just as a refresher, I wanted to show you the two processes in parallel. You know, the top process, which I called momo science, and the bottom process, which is a sample data science lifecycle. And I should mention that not every data science lifecycle goes through the exact same processes, right? So this is just one more machine learning focused data science lifecycle. There could be different ways of gaining insight and making predictions based on data. So this is just, I want to clarify, this is just one approach. You know, we've come a long way. You know, we've bought the ingredients, we've cleaned them, we've chopped them up, we've cooked with them, we've tasted them, we've improved the recipe iteratively, and then we finally tested it with other people. So after doing all this, 90% of the people said that my momo tasted just like Everest Momo, which was awesome because this means that the process worked. But then, you know, I thought, you know, I've worked so hard to come up with this recipe, this golden recipe. It would be a waste if I just keep it to myself. So I thought, you know, why don't I share this recipe with the rest of the world? So I decided to start a restaurant in Boston, where I live. But before I do that, I realized that I needed to make a few modifications to my process because I really need to change the way I cook. I will need to start cooking for a lot, of people at once. So I need to cook a lot of momo, which means I need to streamline the process of cooking. In the data science world, this process of this process is called scaling up the data pipeline. And let's look at what this means. So there are a few things that I need to take care of before I start a restaurant in Boston, obviously. I need to make sure that I buy a warehouse to store all my ingredients, because when I buy all the ingredients, they're not going to fit in a cabinet or a basket. I also need to make sure that I can clean, I can cut and prepare the ingredients to serve the customers at scale. And to do this, I will need more manpower, which means I will need to hire more employees. I guess I could get a momo making machine, but that would be fun because I don't think the quality can be compromised. So that's the momo world. In order to scale up and create a restaurant, that was the things that I needed to do. And similarly, on the data science side, in order to scale up a data pipeline, we will first need we'll need to do a few things. So first, we'll need to move our data, because instead of storing it in our personal computer, we need to store it in the cloud in a more scalable manner. And scale here means going from small to large. And oftentimes when we're doing this, we use something called distributed file systems if the data is too large. And there's something called the Hadoop distributed file system, HDFS. Some of you, if you're familiar with data science, you might have heard of that term. But storing the data is just one thing consideration. There's also processing. So it won't be enough to have a single CPU to do things like data cleaning, featureization, inferencing. We need to run these huge processes in either a GPU or a distributed platform, so that we can parallelize the computation, or in other words, do multiple processing at the same time. And
sorry to interrupt, Dai. You have just 2-3 minutes now more to conclude your presentation.
Okay,
sorry
thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I'm almost done. So I was talking about multiple processing at the same time. So this is similar to have it. Imagine, just to make it more clear, imagine you have 5 people wrapping the momo instead of 1 person. If 1 person takes 50 minutes to wrap, say 100 momos, when we have 5 people, we'll be able to wrap the same momo in 10 minutes, right? So that's the idea behind doing distributed computing. It speeds up your data pipeline. So, it's been 5 years since I've started my restaurant. And I'm so proud that it has been finally starting to get noticed. There was an article in the Boston Globe, which is a popular newspaper here, about it, and we have recently added the delicious chili momo to our menu as well. So definitely check it out if you ever come to visit Boston. So yeah, thank you for giving me your time. If you didn't learn much, I hope you at least learned how to make better momos. And finally, remember, if you can make momos, you can do data science. So thank you, and I would like to open it up for questions.
Thank you very much, Aviskar Dai. The momo metaphor was really good in life cycle of the data science project. If you have any question, then we have 5 minutes. You can dump it in to everyone's section, and I will transfer that question to Aviskar Dai to answer that question. If you have any queries, then you can mention it in the chat box. We have 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't know if we have time to answer questions right now, or we're gonna do it, at a separate time.
Yeah, that you can answer if you get any questions right now.
Okay, I could check the.
Check in everyone's section if anybody's interested in questioning. Then you guys
can even raise your hand so that we will unmute you and you can ask your question verbally.
All right, yeah, everyone's muted, so it might be hard. So feel free to send a question in the message, or just ask to unmute yourself.
So here's the question from Vision. which is the best programming language that facilitates data science?
That's a very good question. Technically, you should be able to do data science in any programming language, but there are some languages that offer more support, that have more libraries to help you, make the process, to facilitate the process or make it easier. So I highly recommend getting started with Python. I think Python is a very good language to get started. R is another language that's very, very popular to get started in learning machine learning or data science. But if you're looking at, so that's just to experimental, like getting started with data science. If you are interested in scaling, like I said, scalability, making more performant machine learning systems, then maybe another more lower level language, C#, C++, any of these language work, but they're going to be harder to find libraries that allow you to do more things at once.
So here is another question from Dikshant Lamsal. Kind of a stupid question. What is the difference between improving Jhol and improving Momo in data science world? And by the way, we have just 2 minutes now.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a very good question. So I made a distinction between improving the Jhol and improving the Momo. And on the data science parallel, improving the Jhol equates to improving, doing hyperparameter optimization, hyperparameter tuning, and improving the Momo relates to validating the model with a validation data set, right? So hyperparameter tuning is running a model. When you run a model, each model has different knobs or buttons that you can dial to change the way the model works. So when you pass in a certain data and you get a particular accuracy, you can change those dials to improve your accuracy. And there's different ways you can go about doing it. You can do it manually, or there are some automated ways of doing it. But on the flip side, improving the Momo, which equates to improving the model performance of the model using a validation data set, that process could be slightly different. Say certain models could be fundamentally wrong, to start with. So if you are noticing that the validation accuracy is very low, then you might have to switch the model. Instead of using a linear regression, you might have to pick a logistic regression. You might have to pick k nearest neighbors. So improving the Momo equates to perhaps changing the whole model, changing the way the model architecture is set up. Improving the Jhol means making small adjustments to the model. But yeah, great question.
Okay, that was great, Abhiskar Dai, and we really appreciate your presence, and you answered a lot of questions and talked about life cycle of data science project. By the way, I'm also the learner of data science. I really enjoyed it, and it's time for the next speaker. I think Suraj Regmi, data science at World Bank. He is going to talk about getting started with data science, how to exactly get started with data science. And here we go. Host, please.
Just a second or 30 seconds. I just want to say a few words about Abhiskar Chhetri. Abhiskar, bro, you are in the US. So this is the time for you to sleep. Well, you look so fresh, so energetic, so nicely energized. So thank you so much. So there was a question that would it be possible for you to give such lectures also in future? So thank you so much. You are a great teacher. Yeah, you taught a lot. I also understood a little bit about data science with the example of Jhol Momo. Thank you. Namaskar, Abhiskar bhai. Talk to you soon again. Go ahead, Bishal.
Hey, Suraj Dai, are you here?
Hello, yes. Yeah. Let me do the screen share. देखियो?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. Hello, everyone. At first, I'm very thankful to the organizing team for organizing such a talk session. मैले एकदमै धेरै टक सेसनहरू देखिरहेको हुन्छु, आफू पनि गरिरहेको हुन्छु, तर हाई स्कुलको लागि चाहिँ I think I have seen it for the first time. Really thankful for that. र म सुरज रेग्मी, म अहिले वर्ल्ड ब्याङ्क सँग काम गरिरहेको छु एज अ डेटा साइन्टिस्ट। अनि म चाहिँ अहिले लाइक नेपाल अनि बङ्गलादेश अनि त्यसपछि इन्डिया तीनटा अफिससँग काम गरिरहेको छु। यो अलिकति वर्ल्ड ब्याङ्क चाहिँ एउटा सोसियल साइन्स सेटिङमा भएको हुनाले आजको टक चाहिँ मेरो सोसियल साइन्समा डेटा साइन्स कसरी प्रयोग गर्न सकिन्छ अथवा कसरी प्रयोग भइरहेको छ त्यो बारेमा हुन्छ है। ओके, अनि एउटा कुरा भन्न मन लाग्यो लाइक I think data science को concept, AI को concept should be given straight from high school. किनभने जस्तै अब जस्तै अघि नै मैले एक दुईवटा क्वेसनहरू देखिरहेको थिएँ है। अब जस्तै डेटा साइन्सको लागि चाहिँ के म्याथमेटिक्स चाहिन्छ एन्ड अल दिस क्वेसन्स आर रियली इम्पोर्टेन्ट हैन, विच आई ट्राई टु एन्सर फ्रम माई साइड। अब कस्तो भन्दाखेरि लाइक डेटा साइन्स इज अ लिटल बिट मोर डिफ्रेन्ट देन हुन्छ नि। अब सफ्टवेयर अब के अरे एउटा वेब डेभलपमेन्टहरूभन्दा अलिकति फरक हुन्छ। जस्तो म्याथमेटिक्सको ग्राउन्डिङहरू राम्रो भयो भने होइन डेटा साइन्समा लाइक एक्सप्लोर गर्नलाई र डेटा साइन्समा अगाडि बढ्नलाई सजिलो हुन्छ है। लाइक डेटा साइन्स इज काइन्ड अफ युनिकर्न फिल्ड होइन। सो इट इज लाइक युनिकर्न के भन्नुको मतलब देयर आर लाइक अ लट अफ डिफ्रेन्ट स्किल सेट्स होइन। यु निड टु एक्सेल इन दिस फिल्ड बट यु नो लाइक but not all of them, even me, have all of these skills being a unicorn. Okay. म एउटा प्रब्लमबाट सुरु गरेँ एन्ड बिफोर द्याट आई वुड लाइक टु थ्याङ्क आविष्कार फर सच अ असम प्रेजेन्टेसन। अब लाइक उहाँले गर्दा चाहिँ आई थिङ्क इट विल बी इजियर फर मी टु रिलेट विथ द थिङ्स हि सेड है। सो द्याट विल बी कोअर्डिनेटरी। ओके, म एउटा इक्जाम्पलबाट सुरु गर्छु है। जस्तै अब कोभिड भयो है। अब यो हाम्रो लाइक दिस इज अ हाउस वर्ल्ड थिङ कोभिड फर्स्ट हामी सबैलाई छोएको छ कोभिडले होइन। अब जस्तै अब कतिपय मानिसहरू आफ्नो फ्यामिलीहरू के अरे गाउँबाट बसाइसराइ गरेर होइन काठमाडौँ पोखरा सिटी एरियाहरूमा आएर बस्नुभएको हुन्छ होइन। आफ्नो जबको लागि होला, आफ्नो कामको लागि होला, एजुकेसनको लागि होला होइन। अब कोरोना आयो, कोभिड-19 आयो होइन। अब कोभिड-19 आइसकेपछि अब लाइक इकोनोमी स्लो डाउन भयो होइन। जब्स स्टार्टेड टु लुज। अनि त्यसपछि मान्छेहरू सुस्तरी अब एक दुई महिना 2-3 महिना टिक्न सजिलो होला, तर धेरै समय टिक्न गाह्रो हुन्छ। त्यसकारण मान्छेहरू लाइक सुस्तरी हिँडेरै भए पनि आफ्नो गाउँतिर होइन, आफ्नो उनीहरू वेयर दे आर ओरिजिनली फ्रम त्यहाँतिर जान थाले होइन। अनि त्यसपछि विथ दिस अनसर्टेन्टी पिपल थट लाइक हामी त अब एटलिस्ट गाउँतिर त हामी लाइक आफूले उब्जाएर भए पनि खान सक्छौँ नि त भन्ने जस्तो कुरा भयो है। अब जस्तै अब यो कुराले चाहिँ लाइक मेनी पिपल आर एफेक्टेड होइन। लाखौँको मान्छेहरू चाहिँ सहरबाट गाउँतिर जान थाले होइन। कति मान्छेहरू हिँडेर जान थाले है। अब यो एउटा फेनोमिनन होइन, एउटा फेनोमिनन हामीले देखियो है। अनि त्यसपछि अब हामीले लाइक वी थट होइन अब कन्सिक्वेन्स के होला त्यो माइग्रेसनको होइन, के होला होइन। अब एउटा डिरेक्ट कन्सिक्वेन्स भनेको त अब कोरोना स्प्रेड होला भन्ने कुरा भयो होइन। तर त्योभन्दा बाहेक इकोनोमिक कन्सिक्वेन्सेसहरू के होला होइन। अनि त्यसपछि अब कुन रिजनमा चाहिँ धेरै मान्छेहरू त्यसरी जान थाले, त्यसरी गएका छन् भन्ने यी क्वेसनहरू चाहिँ किन इम्पोर्टेन्ट हुन्छन् भन्दाखेरि जस्तै लाइक अब जस्तै मानौँ कुनै एउटा गाउँ होइन, कुनै एउटा गाउँ ए होइन, गाउँ ए भन्ने गाउँमा चाहिँ धेरै मान्छेहरू त्यहाँ गए भने होइन कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि लाइक धेरै मान्छे भइसकेपछि डिमान्डहरू धेरै हुन्छ होइन। जस्तै अब त्यो फुडको डिमान्ड होला होइन। अब विभिन्न अरू किसिमहरूको डिमान्ड होला होइन। र सप्लाई त्यति हुन सकेन भने चाहिँ लाइक त्यसको प्राइस बढ्छ होइन, डिमान्ड एन्ड सप्लाईको कर्भ अनुसार है। अब त्यस्तै प्राइस बढ्यो भने त्यहाँ के भयो भन्दाखेरि त्यहाँ चाहिँ अब महँगी पनि भयो। अनि त्यसपछि त्यहाँको मार्जिनलाइज त्यहाँको पोर कम्युनिटीहरूलाई चाहिँ फुड प्राइसेसहरू होइन, हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेन्डिचरहरू बढ्यो भने चाहिँ उनीहरूले कम कन्ज्युम गर्न थाल्छन् होइन। अनि कम कन्ज्युम गर्न थालेर चाहिँ तिनीहरू चाहिँ एकदमै बढी एफेक्टेड हुन्छ है। अब लाइक कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब यस्तो यो इन्टरनेसनल अर्गनाइजेसन होइन अनि त्यसपछि गभर्मेन्टहरू होइन लाइक 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 वाट देयर रोल इज टु होइन इन्फर्म इन्टरभेन्सन अब यदि यदि त्यो मार्जिनलाइज कम्युनिटीहरूमा चाहिँ मान्छेहरूलाई प्रभाव पर्छ है भने इन्टरभेन्सन के इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ त होइन अथवा अथवा रिलिफ प्रोग्रामहरू के गर्नुपर्छ त भन्ने कुरा त पहिला आउनु पर्यो होइन अब त्यसको लागि चाहिँ लाइक अब प्याकेज के अरे रिलिफ प्याकेजहरू दिने कुरा होला होइन अथवा अब सरकारले केही किसिमको छुटहरू दिने कुरा होला त्यस्तो त्यस्तो प्रोग्रामहरू इन्फर्म गर्नलाई त होइन इन्फर्म गर्नलाई कुनै एउटा बेसिस ग्राउन्डिङ चाहियो नि है अब त्यो ग्राउन्डिङको त्यो बेसिस ग्राउन्डिङ अथवा त्यो एउटा एभिडेन्सको लागि चाहिँ डेटा प्रयोग हुनसक्छ है हो त्यसरी चाहिँ डेटा युज गरेर कुन ठाउँमा चाहिँ के अरे क्राइसिस हुनसक्छ कुन ठाउँ चाहिँ भल्नरेबल छन् भन्ने कुराहरू हामीले ट्र्याक गर्न मिल्छ है यो चाहिँ एउटा डेटा साइन्सको प्रब्लम डेटा साइन्सको एउटा प्रब्लमको एउटा इक्जाम्पल हो होइन जुन कुरामा म आफै काम गरिरहेको छु र मेरो आजको प्रेजेन्टेसन चाहिँ पूर्ण रूपमा यो यही प्रब्लम केन्द्रित हुन्छ ताकि लाइक इट विल बी इजियर टु रिलेट है ओके अब कस्तो भन्दाखेरि अब जस्तै ट्र्याकिङ माइग्रेसन भने नि होइन अब जस्तै त्यो प्रिभियस प्रेजेन्टेसनमा आविष्कार छेत्रीले भन्नुभयो होइन लाइक एउटा रियल पपुलेसन हुन्छ त्यहाँबाट हामीले एउटा स्याम्पल लिएर होइन त्यो स्याम्पल युज गरेर चाहिँ हामीले एउटा कुनै स्टडी अथवा एउटा कुनै कम्पेरिजन गर्छौँ होइन अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ लाइक वी एजुम हाम्रो स्याम्पलको डिस्ट्रिब्युसन चाहिँ रियल वर्ल्डको डिस्ट्रिब्युसन जस्तै नै छ भन्ने कुरा वी एजुम गर्छौँ होइन अब हामीसँग को मान्छे कता माइग्रेट गरे भन्ने सबै मान्छेको डेटा त हामीसँग छैन होइन त्यो डेटा हामीसँग छैन अब त्यो डेटा हामीसँग नभइसकेपछि भन्नुको मतलब हामीसँग रियल डेटा छैन जस्तै यो मान्छे यहाँबाट यहाँ गयो यो मान्छे यहाँबाट यहाँ गयो भन्ने हामीसँग रियल डेटा छैन है अब त्यो रियल डेटा नभइसकेपछि हामीले के युज गर्छौँ हाम्रो स्याम्पल भनेको के हो त भन्दाखेरि हामीले चाहिँ मोबाइल फोन प्रयोगकर्ताहरूको होइन जिपिएस लोकेसनको डेटा युज गर्छौँ है अब यति भन्दा भन्दै होइन देयर माइट कम वान क्वेसन के सबै मान्छेसँग मोबाइल फोन त हुँदैन नि त यस द्याट इज द एजम्सन वी आर मेकिङ होइन तर इफ यु आर ह्याभिङ द्याट क्वेसन द्याट इज भेरी गुड क्वेसन होइन किनभने रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ पनि हुनु पऱ्यो होइन अब त्यो कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ हामी मोबाइल फोन कति मान्छेसँग छ कति मान्छेसँग छैन भन्ने स्ट्याटिस्टिक्सहरू युज गरेर चाहिँ हामी पछि एडजस्टमेन्ट गर्छौँ है ओके अब चाहिँ लाइक डेटा भर्सेस इन्फर्मेसन होइन डेटा सुनिन्छ होइन अब के हो डेटा भनेको इन्फर्मेसन के हो भन्ने कुरा अब त्यो कुरामा अलिकति छलफल गरौँ अब कस्तो भन्दाखेरि डेटा भनेको चाहिँ अब काइन्ड अफ एउटा इन्ग्रेडियन्ट्स जसरी भन्नुभयो त्यस्तै तरिकाको एउटा एउटा अनअर्गनाइज फ्याक्ट भयो डेटा भनेको चाहिँ होइन जस्तै हाम्रो केसमा डेटा भनेको के हुन सक्ला जस्तै डेटा भनेको के हुन सक्ला भन्दाखेरि कोही मान्छे कुन ठाउँमा छ भन्ने कुरा त्यो एउटा रेकर्ड भनौँ न होइन जस्तै अब एबिसी चाहिँ काठमाडौँमा छ भन्ने एउटा जुन त्यो तथ्य हो नि त त्यो भनेको फ्याक्ट हो नि त होइन तर त्यो छ भन्नेको मतलब हामीलाई त्यो मात्र थाहा छ अनि अनअर्गनाइज भनेको चाहिँ हामीसँग त्यो एनालाइसिसको लागि रेडी गर्न मिल्ने तरिकाले अर्गनाइज गरेको छैन है हो अब त्यो भनेको हाम्रो डेटा भयो बुझ्नुभयो अब जस्तै अब कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईँहरू अहिले जहाँ हुनुहुन्छ होइन त्यो भनेको तपाईँको डेटा हो होइन तपाईँहरू कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ भन्ने कुरा तपाईँको डेटा हो जस्तै कोही मान्छे पोखरा हुनु होला कोही मान्छे काठमाडौँ हुनु होला कोही मान्छे धरान कोही मान्छे जनकपुर हुनु होला त्यो भनेको डेटा भयो होइन अब तपाईँहरू कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ भन्ने अब विभिन्न डेटहरूमा हुन्छ नि आज यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ भोलि त्यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ पर्सि त्यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ 1 वर्ष अगाडि त्यहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो भन्ने त्यो हामीसँग त्यो सबै त्यो डेटा हुन्छ होइन त्यो डेटालाई प्रयोग गरेर प्रोसेस गरेर चाहिँ हामीले जस्तै कुनै एउटा मिनिङफुल वेमा अर्को डेटा निकाल्ने भनेको अर्को डेटा भनेकै इन्फर्मेसन हो कि इन्फर्मेसन पनि डेटा हो होइन जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल हामीसँग सुरुमा चाहिँ को मान्छे कहाँ छ भन्ने कुरा होला होइन अब को मान्छे कहाँ छ भन्ने कुराहरूको डेटा लिएर चाहिँ हामीले काठमाडौँबाट कति मान्छे गयो भन्ने कुरा अर्को त्यो इन्फर्मेसन निकाल्छौँ नि होइन तर त्यो पनि आफैमा एउटा डेटा हो कि किनभने काठमाडौँबाट लाइक यति लाख मान्छे के अरे बाहिर गए भन्ने पनि आफैमा एउटा डेटा हो तर लाइक द्याट इज मोर मिनिङफुल नि त हैन, जुन कुरा इन्टरप्रिटेसन गर्न सजिलो हुन्छ, जुन कुराले डिसिजनहरूलाई इन्फर्म गराउन सजिलो हुन्छ हैन। अब मैले के लेखेको छु भन्दाखेरि तल माइग्रेसन प्रोफाइल्स अफ अ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिभ रिजन भन्नुको मतलब एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिभ रिजन काठमाडौँ, पोखरा, धरान, बुटोल हैन, तिनीहरूको माइग्रेसन प्रोफाइल कस्तो छ, त्यहाँबाट कति मान्छे बाहिर गएका छन् भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ द्याट क्यान बी हैन इन्फर्मेसन है। तर द्याट इज अगेन डेटा फर फेरि अर्को प्रोसेस के हैन। ओके, यो भयो हाम्रो डेटा भर्सेस इन्फर्मेसन हैन। अब लाइक ओके, नाउ द क्वेसन इज अब डेटा साइन्स भनेको चाहिँ के हो हैन। डेटा साइन्स भनेको एउटा गएर एउटा लाइक गएर एउटा म्याथमेटिक्स मात्र गर्ने पनि होइन हैन, अनि त्यसपछि एउटा के अरे डोमेनको मात्र स्टडी गर्ने पनि होइन हैन, त्यसपछि गएर एउटा तपाईँको के अरे सफ्टवेयर बनाउने मात्र पनि होइन। डेटा साइन्स इज भेरी इन्टरडिसिप्लिनरी इन नेचर हैन। इट टचेज हैन एन्ड इट युजेज मेनी डिसिप्लिन्स के। जस्तै अब मैले आफूले जुन त्यो माइग्रेसनको अध्ययन गरिरहँदाखेरि हैन, यस आई निड टु नो हैन हाउ टु प्रोग्राम इट हैन, त्यो मलाई चाहिन्छ है। तर मैले प्रोग्राम गर्न मात्र जानेर भएन, मैले विभिन्न एजम्सनहरू बनाउनु पर्छ हैन, स्ट्याटिस्टिकल प्रोसेसिङ अथवा स्ट्याटिस्टिकल टुल्सहरू युज गर्नको लागि मैले त्यो नट एन्ड बोल्ट बुझ्नुपर्छ हैन। स्याम्पल भनेको के हो हैन, अब यो अब ऱ्यान्डम के अरे ऱ्यान्डम स्याम्पलिङ हो कि होइन हैन। त्यस्तै तरिकाले मैले त्यो विभिन्न स्ट्याटिस्टिक्सको हैन म्याथमेटिक्सको पनि नलेज मलाई चाहिन्छ है। अब त्यो कोडिङ र त्यो म्याथमेटिक्सको नलेज मात्र भएर पनि हुँदैन, किनभने म एउटा जस्तै मैले ल एउटा के अरे एउटा माइग्रेसनको कुनै एउटा इन्डिकेटर मैले निकालेँ हैन, तर त्यो इन्डिकेटर हैन लाइक युज हुन्छ कि हुँदैन भन्ने पहिला एउटा कुरा चाहियो हैन। त्यो इन्डिकेटर रियल लाइफमा युज हुन्छ कि हुँदैन एउटा कुरा चाहियो। र त्यो इन्डिकेटर निकाल्दा पनि हैन एजम्सन के हो हैन। अब जस्तै लाइक के गाउँबाट सहरमा माइग्रेसन गर्ने भन्ने एजम्सन हो कि सहरबाट गाउँमा माइग्रेसन गर्ने भन्ने एजम्सन हो कि, त्यही भएर मलाई त्यो डोमेन नलेज पनि चाहिन्छ अथवा डोमेन अथवा बिजनेस नलेज पनि चाहिन्छ हैन। अब लाइक ओके, त्यसो भए लाइक डेटा साइन्टिस्ट भनेको चाहिँ कम्प्युटर प्रोग्रामर, म्याथमेटिसियन, स्ट्याटिस्टिसियन, डोमेन एक्सपर्ट अल सबै एकै ठाउँमा भएको मान्छे हो त, उसलाई सबै कुरा आउँछ त? नो, कोहीले आउला, लाइक देयर माइट बी युनिकर्न्स हैन, तर लाइक तर द्याट इज नट कमन के गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि लाइक मैले मेरोलाई इक्जाम्पल दिएर मैले भन्छु लाइक वाट वी हेभ इज इन आवर टिम हैन, वी हेभ लाइक GIS स्पेसियालिस्ट हैन, जसले चाहिँ लोकेसन ट्र्याकिङ अनि त्यसपछि यो जियो लोकेसन ट्र्याकिङ GISहरू बारे चाहिँ जसको एक्सपर्टिज हुन्छ हैन। अब वी हेभ लाइक डेटा साइन्टिस्ट लाइक मी हैन, जसले चाहिँ अलिकति बिग डेटा प्रोसेसिङ अनि त्यसपछि कोर डेटा साइन्स हामीले गर्छौँ हैन। अब त्योभन्दा बाहेक वी हेभ इकोनोमिस्ट हैन, अनि इकोनोमिस्टमा पनि वी हेभ स्पेसियलाइज्ड माइग्रेसन इकोनोमिस्ट, वी हेभ वर्क डिकेड्स अन माइग्रेसन के हैन। अब जस्तै अब उनीहरूले अब जस्तै हामीले भ्यालिडेट गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ हाम्रो रिजल्टहरूलाई चाहिँ हैन, किनभने यो भनेको चाहिँ यो भनेको न्यू सोर्स अफ डेटा हो। जस्तै अब यो मोबाइल GISहरू आएको धेरै समय भएको छैन हैन, त्यही भएर देयर आर भेरी फ्यु वर्क्स डन इन दिस अरिना है। त्यसकारण हामीले भ्यालिडेट गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। हामीले चाहिँ अब त्यहाँको अरू सर्भेहरूसँग भ्यालिडेट गरेर मात्रै लाइक इफ द थिङ्स म्याच्ड वी क्यान युज दिस डेटा, त्यो भनेको डेटाको लागि पनि भ्यालिडेसन हो हैन। अनि त्यसपछि ती कुराहरूको लागि चाहिँ वी हेभ अदर माइग्रेसन एक्सपर्ट्स हैन। त्यही भएर द डेटा साइन्स टिम्स आर भेरी इन्टरडिसिप्लिनरी के है। अब जस्तै अब जुन त्यो डेटा छ हैन, अब डेटाबाट प्याटर्न्स अनि त्यसपछि नलेज इन्साइटहरू एक्सट्र्याक्ट गर्ने कुरा भयो है। अब के मान्छेहरू काठमाडौँबाट बाहिर गएका छन् त हैन, अनि त्यसपछि कहिले चाहिँ मान्छेहरू काठमाडौँ आए त है, अनि त्यसपछि अनि विकेन्डहरूमा मान्छेहरूको माइग्रेसन के छ त, विकेन्डहरूमा घटेको छ कि बढेको छ हैन। अनि त्यसपछि अब मान्छेहरूको घर कहाँ हो है। जस्तै एउटा दिस इज भेरी हैन कुल इक्जाम्पल के, जस्तै मान्छेहरूको होम लोकेसन भन्ने हुन्छ हैन। होम लोकेसन भनेको चाहिँ हामी कसरी डिफाइन गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि त्यो मान्छेले सबैभन्दा धेरै हैन सबैभन्दा धेरै टाइम स्पेन्ड गर्ने रातको समयमा सबैभन्दा धेरै टाइम स्पेन्ड गर्ने ठाउँ कहाँ हो त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले होम मान्छौँ कि हैन त्यही भएर होम त कुनै मान्छेको घर कहाँ हो भन्ने कुरा थाहा पाउनु नै अब होम वर्क हैन अब कम्युट गरिरहेको हुन्छ यताउता मुभमेन्ट गरिरहेको हुन्छ हैन अब हामीले त्यो घर कहाँ हो भन्ने थाहा पाउनको लागि पनि वी निड हैन के अरे वी निड अ डिफ्रेन्ट प्रोसेस के हैन अब त्यसको लागि चाहिँ अब जस्तै के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्दाखेरि जस्तै मान्छे घरमा नर्मली घरमा सुत्छ हैन सुत्ने बेलामा त घरमा हुन्छ नि भन्ने एउटा एजम्पसन गरेर चाहिँ सबैभन्दा धेरै टाइम बेलुकाको समयमा जुन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिभ रिजनमा स्पेन्ड गर्छ अथवा चाहे त्यो वार्ड होस् चाहे त्यो म्युनिसिपालिटी होस् त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले होम भनेर डिफाइन गर्छौँ कि हैन अनि त्यसपछि अवे भनेको चाहिँ होमभन्दा बाहेकको अवे भयो कि अनि त्यसपछि मान्छे चाहिँ कति समय चाहिँ बाहिर बिताउँदो रहेछ भन्ने हैन अनि त्यसपछि अब धेरै समयसम्मको लागि बाहिर गएकोलाई चाहिँ हामीले के भन्छौँ भन्दाखेरि लाइक सर्ट टर्म माइग्रेन्ट भन्छौँ जो चाहिँ कामको लागि बाहिर गएको होला अथवा एजुकेसनको लागि बाहिर गएको होला हैन जो चाहिँ फर्केर आउँछ एजुकेसन भन्ने काम भनौँ अझै हैन जो चाहिँ फर्केर आउँछ है त्यसलाई हामीले सर्ट टर्म माइग्रेन्ट भन्छौँ अब सर्ट टर्म माइग्रेन्ट धेरै भएको ठाउँ भनेको चाहिँ त्यति त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले डेभलपमेन्टसँग जोड्न मिल्छ कि किनभने आफ्नो ठाउँमा धेरै जब अपर्च्युनिटिज नभएर आफ्नो ठाउँ त्यति राम्रोसँग विकसित नभएर नै मान्छे बाहिर अपर्च्युनिटीको लागि खोज्न जान्छ नि त हैन त्यसरी त्यसलाई हामीले चाहिँ त्यसरी डेभलपमेन्टसँग पनि जोड्न मिल्छ कि है ओके अब यो भयो हैन अब जस्तै लाइक ट्युरिङ अवार्ड विनर अब जिम ग्रेले चाहिँ डेटा साइन्सलाई फोर्थ प्याराडाइम भनेर भनेको छ हैन जस्तै अब हाम्रो के अरे इम्पेरिकल साइन्स भयो अब थ्योरिटिकल साइन्स भयो हैन अनि त्यसपछि अर्को कम्प्युटेसनल साइन्स भयो हैन र अहिले आएर चाहिँ अब डेटा साइन्स पनि यस्तो अब इमर्जिङ तरिकाले अब अर्को एउटा प्याराडाइमै बनेर आउने जस्तो के अरे बनेर आउँदैछ जस्तै अब मेरै लाइक अब मै काम गरेको अर्गनाइजेसनमा पनि अब लाइक 3-4 इयर्स हैन खासै डेटा साइन्सको त्यति त्यो लाइक इकोनोमिक्सको हुन्थ्यो रिसर्च तर डेटा साइन्स फोकस नै भएर बिग डेटाहरूको डेटा साइन्सहरूको हुन्थेन तर अब नाउ लाइक इट इज एक्सप्लोरिङ के हैन अनि त्यसपछि अब जे कुरामा पनि लेट्स ट्राई हैन डेटा साइन्स अथवा अल्टरनेटिभ डेटा ट्राई गरौँ भन्ने त्यो लहरै आएको छ हैन अब त्यसैको प्रभाव हो यो हैन लाइक why data science is gaining in popularity भन्ने कुराहरू अब डेटा साइन्स प्रब्लम चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब जस्तै अब यो रिग्रेसन क्लासिफिकेसनहरू भनेको दिज आर द टेक्निकल वर्ड्स हैन अब मैले के भन्नु भन्दाखेरि जस्तै मैले अहिले जुन माइग्रेसनको स्टडी भनिरहेको थिएँ दिस इज लाइक बिग डेटा एनालाइटिक्स हैन फोर्थ बुलेट पोइन्टमा छ त्यो है बिग डेटा एनालाइटिक्स र बिग डेटा प्रोसेसिङ दुवै हैन जस्तै हाम्रो त्यहाँ चाहिँ कस्तो छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईको लाइक वी हेभ बिलियन्स अफ डेटा पोइन्ट्स के हामीसँग बिलियन्स अफ डेटा पोइन्ट्स छ इन्डियाको कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वी हेभ बिलियन्स अफ डेटा पोइन्ट्स हैन फ्रम लाइक 100 मिलियन्स अफ युजर्स अनि अब त्यो भनेको चाहिँ द्याट इज लाइक बिग डेटा के अब दिनमै मिलियन्स डेटाहरू प्रड्युस हुन्छन् हैन बिग डेटा भनेको चाहिँ एकदमै ह्युज एमाउन्ट हैन ह्युज क्वान्टिटी अफ डेटा भयो है अब
I'm sorry to disturb you, Dai. You have just 3 to 4 minutes now left to conclude your presentation.
Okay. I started at 12:55 or 11:55.
Okay, we can extend it by some extent.
Okay. Thank you. त्यो भनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो डेटा साइन्सको प्रब्लमहरू भयो है अब जस्तै एप्लिकेसनमा चाहिँ म धेरै टाइम चाहिँ म बिताउन्न किनभने लाइक आविष्कार हेज अलरेडी सेड हैन अब देयर आर अ लट अफ एप्लिकेसन्स हैन अनि त्यसपछि अगाडि प्रेजेन्टरले पनि भन्नुभएको थियो हैन लाइक अब मेडिकल इमेजिङमा होला हैन एक्सरेहरूको स्क्यानहरूलाई स्टडी गर्ने होला अनि त्यसपछि सर्चमा होला हैन जस्तै अब तपाईले अब काठमाडौँमा बसेर गर्ने सर्च र कोही मान्छेले उता अमेरिकामा गर्ने सर्च भनेको फरक हुन्छ हैन अब त्यसमा चाहिँ दे हेभ युज जियो लोकेसन फिचर्स एन्ड तपाईको प्रोफाइलहरू पनि सबै कुराहरूको एउटा तपाईको प्रोफाइलै बनाएको हुन्छ कि त्यो बनाएर चाहिँ पर्सनलाइज सर्च रिजल्टहरू दिन्छ अनि त्यसपछि एडभर्टाइजिङ हैन अब द्याट इज भेरी कमन हैन गुगल एडभर्टाइजमेन्टहरुमा देख्न सकिन्छ हामीले जे कुरा खोजिरहेको हुन्छ त्यही रिलेटेड एडभर्टाइजमेन्टहरु आउँछ हैन रिकमेन्डेसन्स अब लाइक रिकमेन्डेसन्स ह्याभ increase revenue of the companies by like 20-30%, be it Amazon, be it Netflix. अनि त्यसपछि अब ल्याङ्ग्वेजको कुरा आएको थियो हैन अब यसमा चाहिँ म भनिहाल्छु है जस्तै आई एम लाइक आई एम मेकानिकल इन्जिनियरिङ ग्रेजुएट हैन मैले चाहिँ इन्डियामा मेकानिकल इन्जिनियरिङ पढेको हो हैन तर लाइक हाउ आई एम एबल टु कम इन्टु दिस डेटा साइन्स एआई फिल्ड भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ इट इज अल बिकज अफ पाइथन लाइक आई ट्राई टु लर्न C++ हैन मैले सुरुमा बिङ अ मेकानिकल इन्जिनियरिङ ग्रेजुएट मैले अब्जेक्ट ओरिएन्टेड प्रोग्रामिङ पनि पढेको थिइनँ हैन लाइक मैले एउटा सिम्पल C पढेको थिएँ हैन र मलाई चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दाखेरि सुरुमा म C++ सिक्न खोजेँ कि हैन अनि इट वाज भेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिङ एक्सपिरियन्स फर मी के किनभने मलाई ओओपीको केही नलेजै थिएन के अनि त्यसपछि लाइक when one senior brother of mine हैन एडभाइस मी टु स्टडी पाइथन हैन पाइथन चाहिँ म यस्तो इजिली टेक अफ गरिहालेँ कि त्यही भएर इफ यु आर नट फ्रम CS ब्याकग्राउन्ड हैन अनि त्यसपछि आई थिङ्क पाइथन क्यान डु ट्रिक फर यु टु के हैन अब डेटा साइन्सको लागि त पाइथन भनेको त अब काइन्ड अफ गो टु जस्तै भइसक्यो हैन पाइथन आर पनि हो हैन तर डेटा साइन्स नै नभए पनि प्रोग्रामिङ सिक्नलाई इफ यु आर स्टार्टर हैन पाइथन इज वाट आई वुड रिकमेन्ड बिकज इट मेक्स थिङ्स रियली इजियर हैन जुलिया पनि छ एउटा त्यो कम्पिटिसन प्याराडाइमहरुमा युज भइरहेको छ है ओके लाइक बट ल्याङ्ग्वेज इज नट द बिग थिङ बिकज यु क्यान लर्न द्याट इजिली हैन लाइक द कन्सेप्ट्स द एक्सपिरियन्स दे आर द इम्पोर्टेन्ट थिङ अब टुल्स एन्ड टेक्नोलोजिजहरुमा चाहिँ लाइक टेन्सरफ्लो पाइटर्स हैन अब जुपिटर नोटबुक अब स्पार्कहरु यी विभिन्न छन् हैन जस्तै भिजुअलाइजेसनमा चाहिँ अब भिजुअलाइजेसन इज अल्सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट किनभने जतिसुकै राम्रो काम गरे पनि हैन लाइक इफ यु क्यान नट प्रेजेन्ट इट टु द पिपल हैन टु द स्टेक होल्डर्स हैन लाइक यु आर लेस लाइकली टु मेक अ इम्प्रेसन के अर सो इम्पोर्टेन्स अफ ए वर्क त्यही भएर भिजुअलाइजेसन भनेको चाहिँ एकदमै इम्पोर्टेन्ट कुरा हो जुन चाहिँ मैले पनि लेटली रियलाइज गरेको कुरा हो है अनि अब करियर्स भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ अब कस्तो भन्दाखेरि अब देयर आर अ लट अफ करियर्स हैन अब जस्तै डेटा साइन्टिस्ट भनेको जुन चाहिँ कोर डेटा साइन्समा काम गर्ने भयो डेटा इन्जिनियरिङ भनेको मोर लाइक बिग डेटा ह्यान्डलिङ अनि त्यसपछि बिग डेटा प्रोसेसिङ अब डेटाको म्यानेजमेन्ट हैन त्यो कुराहरू भयो अब डेटा एनालिस्ट भनेको चाहिँ डेटा इन्जिनियरिङले प्रड्युस गरेको डेटालाई युज गरेर कुनै टुलहरू युज गरेर गर्ने एनालाइसिस भयो डेटा कन्सल्टेन्ट भनेको चाहिँ जस्तै भएको डेटा र भएको एनालाइसिसहरूलाई कसरी बिजनेस निडहरूमा प्रयोग गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा भयो र डेटा आर्किटेक्ट भनेको चाहिँ लाइक डेटाको त्यो होल त्यो डेटा प्रडक्ट अथवा डेटा सिस्टमलाई नै कसरी आर्किटेक्ट गरेर चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट बेस्ट आउट अफ इट निकाल्ने भन्ने कुरा भयो यसरी लाइक वी क्यान सी द ट्रेन्ड के हेर्नु न अब 2015 सम्मको मैले यो इन्जिटबाट लिएको स्ट्याट हो हैन लाइक द फिल्ड इज एक्सप्लोरिङ के हैन किनभने लाइक पिपल हेभ स्टार्टेड टु रियलाइज द युज अफ बिग डेटा अनि त्यसपछि अर्को चाहिँ के अरे अब युज कम्प्युटेसन हैन युज प्रोसेसिङ पनि हामीलाई अहिले एभाइलेबल छ र बिग डेटा पनि एभाइलेबल छ त्यो दुईटा भएको हुनाले चाहिँ वी क्यान एक्सप्लोइट द प्याटर्न्स विच आर देयर इन द डेटा है ओके या आई एम डन विथ द प्रेजेन्टेसन लाइक आई वुड लभ टु ह्याभ इफ
Suraj, here is a question.
Yeah, sure.
नेपालमा डेटा साइन्स कुन डोमेनमा मेनली युज भइरहेको छ विथ सम एक्जाम्पल्स सुनिलको क्वेसन
ओके नेपालमा सुस्तरी द कम्पनीज हेभ स्टार्टेड टु ग्रो है डेटा साइन्समा चाहिँ अब लाइक द कम्पनीज लाइक फ्युज मेसिन्स अनि त्यसपछि लिपफ्रग त्यसपछि इभन क्लाउड फ्याक्ट्री दे वर्क heavily with AI and data and there are also other companies like Umari and all also have started like त्यस्तो matured ecosystem त छैन तर सुस्तरी द companies have started to take it अब अर्को example भयो एउटा बालुवाटारमा छ I forgot Rosebay Consulting so there are a lot of companies which some focus on healthcare some focus on data image processing and त्यसपछि त्यो बाहेक like the development development organizations like World Bank and त्यसपछि even WFP they are starting to take data science into their problems है जस्तै अब हामीले अस्ति भर्खरै अब पोभर्टी चाहिँ अब डेटा मसिन लर्निङले पोभर्टी सल्भ गर्ने कुराहरू गरिरहेको थियौँ हैन जस्तै अब हाउस होल्ड चाहिँ मान्छेको कतिजना पढेको छन् अनि त्यसपछि के खान्छन् भन्ने ती विभिन्न कुराहरू लिएर चाहिँ त्यो हाउस होल्ड पोर छ कि छैन भन्ने कुराहरू भइरहेको छन् सो अब सुस्तै द कम्पनीज आर ग्रोइङ अप अनि त्यसपछि it is just going to increase. Okay?
Suraj, here is another question. What does scientists need the most, and what are the present scope of data science in context of Nepal?
What was the first part? Scientists data need one.
Yeah, actually, this part of the question is actually covered in my presentation, so I think it will be fruitful if I explain it in my presentation. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, another question.
Can we start learning directly after +2?
Yeah, मजासँग किनभने अब यसको लागि चाहिने एकदम बेसिक म्याथमेटिक्स भनेको चाहिँ यु निड सम नलेज अफ स्ट्याटिस्टिक्स हैन जस्तै मिन भनेको के हो एभरेज भनेको के हो स्ट्यान्डर्ड डेभिएसन भनेको के हो अनि त्यसपछि म्याट्रिक्सको अपरेसन भनेको सिम्पल मल्टिप्लिकेसनहरु भनेको के हो प्रोबेबिलिटी भनेको के हो डिस्ट्रिब्युसन भनेको के हो व्हिच आर वेल कभर्ड इन ग्रेड के रे स्कुल लेभल mathematics and त्यसपछि like visualization and all it is collection of art and science हैन the more you do the better you get it and त्यसपछि प्रोग्रामिङ भनेको त त्यति साह्रो लाइक अब ब्याचलर्स मास्टर्स चाहिन्छ भन्ने कुरा होइन हैन इट इज मोर अबाउट प्रब्लम सल्भिङ तर इट विल बी बेटर इफ यु नो सम नलेज अबाउट डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स लाइक एरे अब डिक्सनरी भनेको के हो हैन अब ट्रीज भनेको के हो ग्राफ भनेको के हो भन्ने कुराहरू तर आई इन्करेज लाइक एनीवन हु इज लुकिङ टु हैन एक्सप्लोर डेटा साइन्स टु स्टार्ट एक्सप्लोरिङ राइट आफ्टर लाइक युर हाई स्कुल
Thank you, Dai. Thank you, Suraj Dai, for your great presentation about getting started with data science. It was really good.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think it's 12:25 and it's time for Amit Timalsina, best career learning paths for data science. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'd like to ask Vikas to please share my presentation.
Okay, I'm doing it. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Amit Timalsina and today I'll be discussing about best career learning paths for data science and AI. Before we get started with my discussion on topic, I'd like to introduce myself. Bishal, can you please take me to the next slide? Yeah, let me introduce myself. I'm an advanced technology intern at Freedom Corporation. I'm also the co-founder and AI lead of Young Scientist Community, which is an initiative by RECAST. If I get time at the end, I will be discussing about what is Young Science Community and what we are actually trying to do there. And it's basically a community of various high schoolers all over Nepal. We are trying to join all of them. I'll be telling you it shortly. I'm also a Coursera certified TensorFlow developer. And after I completed a TensorFlow developer certification, I have currently started learning reinforcement learning because I find it a lot intriguing, right? And I'm also started exploring a deep concepts in deep learning. And as I'm a learner enthusiast of artificial intelligence. Academically, I'm a grade 12 student of Sainik Avasya Mahavidyalaya Salakari Bhaktapur. And I feel proud to say that I'm also a high schooler like you all, who is having some sort of experience in artificial intelligence. Okay, can you take me to the next slide, please? Okay, let me make it clear for you all that what we'll be discussing about today. At first, we'll be covering best career learning paths to be a data scientist. Afterwards, we'll be talking about the best career learning paths to be an ML engineer. And lastly, we'll talk about learning resources that you can use for learning artificial intelligence and data science. Okay, let me make this conversation. Let us make this conversation two-sided. Basically, I want you all to put the learning resources that you have been using for learning various other fields of studies like programming and as well as artificial intelligence and data science too. And let me make it clear about all these discussions which we'll be doing lately, shortly. Okay. In the first point, which is best career learning paths to data scientists, is not mainly dedicated for all the high schoolers. It is for the generalized one where you can all the participants who are present here who are not even the high schoolers can benefit from here. Okay. And basically, this is not mainly intended for the high schools, I mean to say that. And the second part, which is best career learning path to be ML engineer. And here we'll be discussing mainly about the specific pathway that the high schoolers can follow, as we high schoolers have lack of time. We have to cover all these studies tasks in the school, and we have very less time to get learn these topics such as artificial intelligence and data science. Okay, this part is mainly dedicated for the high schoolers, so be careful when I discuss these topics. You can even screenshot the career paths as I go forward. Okay, can you take me to the next slide, please? Okay, career learning path data science, this is basically the roadmap that you can follow. As Suraj Dai and Aviskar Dai have already discussed with you a lot about data science projects, how I like to thank Aviskar Dai for making it so easier for all the participants over here by explaining it in the form of Jhol momo. I really found it intriguing, right? And basically here are as Suraj Dai told us that there are various career paths for learning data science, and I'll be discussing about data scientists actually. For getting started with data scientists, you can start your career from being a data analyst, which is the entry-level point. And after you complete the data analyst part, and after getting lot more knowledge about various topics that I'll be telling you shortly, then you reach the data scientist entry level. And after you reach to this point, which is data science entry level, after having a lot of experience in a company or after doing a lot of projects, then you are good to be a data scientist, who are basically head of the head of the AI department or the data science department, and they have to coordinate with all the various departments of the business sector, which is the business department as well as the IT department. Okay, can you please take me to the next slide? Can you please notify me if I get too fast, as I can't control my speed actually. Can you please help me with that? Whenever I get fast, you can please notify me, okay, in the chat box or through the personal message too.
Okay. You are fast, but you are understandable. No worry. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Please notify me if I am a lot fast. As I am seeing a lot of messages running in my chat box. Sorry if you aren't able to understand it. Okay, let me tell you something about data analysts. Let me not kick around the bushes and make it clear about a topic. Okay. Data analysts are highly valued for the ability to help companies make data-driven decisions by translating data into insights in SQL, Tableau, and more. Becoming a data analyst is an ideal way to launch and advance a data science career. Let me make it easier for you to understand this. Okay, I'm getting slower. I think now you are clear. Okay, and basically let me give clear about what data analysts actually do. Data analysts are actually responsible for arranging data in the form of tables using SQL, using relational database services like AWS, RDS, SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle kind of stuff. You basically added the data in the form of tables. After which you do what is that you actually try to gain insights out of data, as I already told you. And when you get insights out of the data, then you can coordinate with the ML engineers or the senior data scientists to make a proper algorithm which can do better for the business side as well as the IT side. You can give the business sector also the insights about the business logs through the business logs that you get from them. That's kind of stuff. Yeah. And the key skills to learn here are basically MySQL, mathematics, and statistics. I'd like to notify you that the mathematics and statistics are basically required for every path in AI and data science. Whether if you are trying to be an ML engineer or a data analyst or a data scientist or a data science learner, anything you want to be data engineer, you need mathematics and statistics. Basically, in mathematics and in statistics, what you have to cover, I'll be telling you shortly in the later slides. Okay, can you please take me to the next slide, please? Okay, here we come to the data scientist entry level. If you complete all those stuff, learning the math, statistics kind of stuff, then you are good to get started with data science. You are good to tell yourself as data scientist. Data scientists use probability, statistics, mathematics, and computer science to make predictions about complex systems. Gaining experience as data scientist is excellent preparation for success as a data scientist. Yeah, I think you get it well. Let me tell you something about it too. When you complete data analyst level and you start learning more deeply about statistics, mathematics, and this is the point when you get started learning about what do we say, ML algorithms kind of stuff, such as TensorFlow, various programming languages such as R, Python, and then you are good to tell yourself a data scientist. And let me tell you the key skills to learn here are basically R language, Python, statistics, data analysis, database visualization, and machine learning. As Suraj, I already told you that Python is a very good framework to get started with learning data science as well as the machine learning, because it has provided you with a lot of frameworks as well as a lot of functions which we can directly integrate in our data science and ML projects, which makes the computation very fast, as well as lets us easily do the projects that we are intending to do, as it has got functions for a lot of normal simple tasks. Okay. And after you complete this, you are good to get started with, can you take me to the next slide? Good to get started with the data scientist senior level. Let me notify you that learning only doesn't let you reach to this level, data science senior level. A lot of experience in the business sector, as well as a lot of experience in leadership skills are required for this level. Data analysts advance their careers by gaining expertise in machine learning, predictive models, deep learning, and SAS. And move into leadership roles through developing management and communication skills. And the key skills to learn here are TensorFlow, machine learning, and deep learning. You start learning about these skills, that is TensorFlow, machine learning, and deep learning from the data scientist junior level. And when you get a lot of experience about working as a junior under a data scientist senior level, then you are finally nominated as a data scientist senior level in a company if you are working there. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of questions running out in my chat box. I'll be answering them after I complete my presentation, and also the other speakers who are out there can also help me with this. Okay. And it basically data scientists senior level usually require a lot of personal skills too, such as leadership skills as well as management skills. They have to coordinate with the business department, the IT sector, and help them with all the tasks. And they have to, and basically data scientists are coordinating with all the sectors of the business, such as cybersecurity system, all this stuff, all these sectors, so that they can make a proper model out of it. Yeah. Okay. I think you are clear with data scientists, what data scientists do and what you have to study for reaching to this level. Okay, can I go to the next slide? Okay. And this, as I told you previously, that these are basically stuff that is not generally intended for high schoolers, because we actually have a lot less time, because we have to manage college, as well as we have to do tasks, assignments, practicals. So I have come up with you a very simple path that you can follow for being for calling yourself as an ML engineer, machine learning engineer. I think that sounds great, right? Okay, this is the pathway that I also actually followed, and I want to suggest you to even follow this, because I think I found it the best way, so that I'm capable enough to speak in front of you all. These are the skills that I learned. Okay, and let me start this slide. Mathematics for machine learning, as I already told you, that linear algebra and multivariate calculus are a must for machine learning, and optional ones are statistics and probability. And these are the stuff that are generally discussed in multivariate calculus and linear algebra are basically okay. Linear algebra and multivariate calculus are basically discussed in grade 11 and grade 12, I think. So it's basically easy for the students in Nepal, but it's difficult for 9 and 10 students. So let me make it more easier for them. You can do what is you can just leave mathematics for machine learning, and you can continue it later. As learning machine learning generally doesn't want you to learn this stuff, because if you learn this stuff, it only simplifies you with that you don't have to mug up the formulas or the algorithms by learning. So no mathematics for machine learning, then you can use the formulas as well as the algorithm, which makes it much more fun to study. So if you don't know this stuff, then you can also go to get started with the second step, that is machine learning basic concepts. Okay. And when you reach the machine learning basic concepts, here you have to learn about what machine learning actually is, what are use cases of machine learning, what are various types of machine learning, such as supervised learning and unsupervised learning, as well as the reinforcement learning now. Okay, and you can also learn about okay, I'm seeing a lot of stats. And you can also learn about various cost function kind of stuff, various gradient descent kind of stuff. You'll get to know about them when you get started learning machine learning. Okay, these are the general stuff that you have to learn in machine learning. Basically, cover the basic concepts, so that you are good to get started with learning deep learning. And I generally suggest you to get started with deep learning, because deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which uses all algorithms and models of supervised as well as unsupervised learning stacked into layers. I don't think I need to tell you about supervised and unsupervised learning, because these are completely new. I suppose that these are completely new for you. Let me make it clear that supervised learning generally uses algorithms like regression and classification, and unsupervised learning uses algorithm like clustering kind of algorithm. And you can just stack all of those algorithms and models in the form of layers, and you can just let the neurons get extract the data, extract from the data, information from the data that you provide. You'll get to know about this when you start learning them. Okay, after you complete this step 2, then you go to get started with TensorFlow for deep learning. And actually, I find this the most easiest part that you can get started that you learn after completing this, because if you have completed all the 3 steps properly, then I suppose that you can even complete up to the intermediate level of TensorFlow for deep learning within just about 1 to 2 months, right? And I think it's actually fun to get started with TensorFlow when you start learning TensorFlow, because it generalizes a lot of concepts of deep learning, and you don't have to do a lot of programming or writing algorithm kind of stuff too. It is a wonderful framework for deep learning in my case. Okay, in my case, after I completed all this stuff, I started learning reinforcement learning because I find it a lot intriguing, because it's kind of like learning like the children do, learning from the environment use cases, providing the rewards on basis of what you learn. It's actually find it a lot intriguing. So, but if you don't find it intriguing and you find other stuff intriguing like supervised learning and unsupervised learning, then you are good to get started with them too. Because you can just get more concepts about supervised and unsupervised learning. In my case, I have just started learning reinforcement learning just a week. It has just been a week. Okay, can you please get me to the next slide? I think you are clear up to here now. Okay, now I'm discussing about the learning resources that you can use. I'll also tell about the learning resources that I am currently using. Okay, I hope that you are writing in the chat box about the various learning resources that you have been using. I'll be discussing after I complete this one. Okay, for trusted certification, you can use Coursera. Basically, it provides you resources for paid as well as unpaid one. And you can also use Udemy. It also provides you resources for paid as well as for unpaid. You can use EDX. It's a wonderful platform. It also provides you resources for paid. And after this, you can use Graded Learning. I think this is an awesome if you don't want to pay a single bucks for your learning, and basically they provide you with certification that are trusted certification, and just you can also upload them the LinkedIn kind of stuff, LinkedIn type of social media stuff, and as well as Facebook also. And I think this it provides a great resource for free of cost. I suggest you to get started with learning, from learning this site, because this is for free. Okay, and you can also use Kaggle. Kaggle has contained a huge data set for the data scientists as well as for the engineers. And it also provides some sort of certification and the basic courses like getting started with ML, reinforcement learning kind of stuff, and it's totally free. And I have also completed a few of courses from Kaggle, Coursera, and from Udemy too. Talking about myself, I started learning artificial intelligence and machine learning from Coursera, and after use I also use sometimes Graded Learning as well as Kaggle. Okay. If you have no access to these resources, or if you have access to these resources, but you want more resources, then you can use various books available out there. There are a lot of PDFs which is available from written by great writers, great researchers of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and you can get those PDFs for free, and you can get started learning from those books too if you have any confusion regarding what you learned through these resources. Okay, through resources that are trusted certification. Okay. And you can also use YouTube. YouTube has got a huge resources for learning artificial intelligence. Andrew Ng himself has provided a huge resources in his channel, which is deeplearning.ai. If you want to know about various YouTube channels as well as the books that you can use, then you can please email me. I will provide you email shortly. And you can also use various blogs written by the researchers all over the world. They provide a lot of intriguing ideas about various algorithms, various ways to use algorithms, and it's also awesome. And you can also use the various documentation about some of the algorithms. There is the TensorFlow has provided a lot of resources about the algorithms that TensorFlow provides. And also you can use various websites of TensorFlow as well as deep learning and reinforcement learning. You'll get a lot of information from there. Okay, can you please take me to the next slide? Okay, let me see the chat box. Bishal, can you please notify me if anyone has provided any resources further than me, which I didn't note here?
Shall I stop sharing the slide?
Okay, I will be discussing about Young Scientist Community too, which is an initiative by RECAST, and Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari sir has helped me a lot to start this initiative. I will be discussing with you about Young Scientist Community too after I complete discussing the questions that are present over the chat box here. Okay, Bishal, can you please notify me of the questions that I have got in the chat box?
Shall I stop sharing the slides?
Yeah, you can do so.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So here is the question from Kumar. From what age did you start learning about AI and ML?
Okay, let me be true here. It hasn't been so long. I started it back 6 months ago. And I think I have covered a lot in these 6 months, as it has been a time of lockdown, as I was at home. Basically, previously I was a great learner of what do we say, computer programming kind of stuff. I studied C++, JavaScript, C at a young age. So it was kind of easy for me to get started with artificial intelligence and Python stuff. Okay. And next question, please.
So here is another question from Ayusha. She says, which degree is best to get started in data science as prospective undergraduate?
Undergraduate, I don't know much about undergraduate because I'm basically a high school student. You can ask to, I think Avishkar Bhai or any other speakers who are present over here can answer this question perfectly, because I have no experience about which degree that you should get. Okay, I was just talking about non-formal studies that you can do for becoming a data scientist or an ML engineer. Okay, I know. Okay, you can please tell me the other question.
There is another question from Rohan. He says, what is TensorFlow?
Oh, what is TensorFlow? I don't think I am intending to answer this question here, because I think Google has provided you with a huge data set of information. You can just Google what is TensorFlow. Basically, it's a framework of, it has provided you with, deep learning has provided you with a framework that is TensorFlow, and you can do all the deep learning can be stopped with TensorFlow with few lines of code. And deep learning with the code which takes in which deep learning you have to write the code, very long codes, and basically TensorFlow has just simplified the way you write code. It has just modernized the way of writing code. Okay.
So there is another question from Sunil. He says, which to learn, TensorFlow or PyTorch?
Okay, in my case, I think I find TensorFlow quite intriguing, but it's totally depends on you, because some find TensorFlow easier and some find PyTorch more intriguing. So I completely leave it up to you. In my case, I basically use TensorFlow, and I'm currently a certified TensorFlow developer from deeplearning.ai. So I think TensorFlow is quite good for me. Okay.
So here's a good question from Assis. He says, what web framework do you recommend to integrate? I think that is data set machine learning.
Okay, I didn't hear it clearly. Can you please notify me where the question is?
So
yeah, here Assis Bhandari has told me free codecamp has got many resources, many tutorials on these stuff. Yeah, if you don't want certification and you just want to get huge knowledge about this stuff, then free codecamp is an awesome resource that you can use for learning this. I forgot to note it down in my slide, so you can note it here from here. Free codecamp has provided you a lot of resources for free. It has even got 2 YouTube channels, which one is for English and one has provided you with has provided with you Hindi language too. Okay, you can use that.
So the actual question from us was, what web framework do you recommend to integrate dataset / machine learning, Flask or Django? He's talking about, I think, web.
I think in my case, I find Django some sort of suitable for me, because I had been studying Django when I studied web development. I'm also a freelancer of web development, so I think Django was quite suitable for me. I think for Nepali, a lot of we are familiar with Django, so I think Django is quite good.
So the
okay, yeah, please.
The next question from Vision: what is the basic concept to design a neural network?
For basic concepts to design a neural network? It's an awesome question, and it will take quite long for me to answer this. The basic concept in neural network is that they are supposed to extract the data that they provided from the input data sets. Basically, you get the pattern from the data that they provide them, and they basically generalize the pattern and get some sort of idea about what data we have provided, and they go on using passing those to the other neural nets. And we actually have a lot of neural layers, and basically all the neural networks cooperate with each other and provide each other the data, and they have got weights too, and they actually use all the neurons combinedly from the final data. So I think I need a separate session for explaining this, as it has got a lot of concepts to answer. Okay, when you just start with learning machine learning, then you can get a huge intuition about what actually it is. Okay.
So Ruchi says ML and data science are different subject or integrated.
It's actually like this. Basically, if you want to be a complete artificial intelligence developer as well as data scientist developer, then data scientists are the people who have both knowledge of machine learning engineer as well as data analyst. So I think data science is complete subject for being actually a proper artificial intelligence developer, But for saying here, I say that data science and machine learning are quite different, but you need to integrate both of them for being a complete AI engineer or AI developer. Okay.
So Soru Bhatrai says, are not we supposed to use DevOps for web application? What about Streamlight and ML Ops? Machine learning.
Aren't we supposed to use DevOps for web application? I am not quite clear with this question, Saurabh. Sorry if I couldn't answer this question. Yeah, it's an awesome question. I would like other speakers who are quite over here to answer his question, as I find this awesome. Okay. I like to request Suraj Dai or Avishkar Dai. I think has already been quite late there. So he has actually, I think he has actually gone to bed. I'd like to request Surendra Vikram Dai or Suraj Dai to please, if you can answer this question, please feel free to answer this. As let's make this session quite interactive. Okay.
Yeah. Is there anybody to answer that question?
Okay, can anyone answer this question?
I think Soru Bhatrai says, I heard Streamlit is good for machine learning on web.
Yeah, I haven't quite used this because I have been using Jupyter Notebook as well as Collabs, and I haven't reached to that state because I find a lot of hardware resources are required to reach up to that level. So I am basically not so much knowledge about that. Sorry,
so let's drop this question. And here's another question from Pravesh. He says, why is it hard for us to get to artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence from artificial narrow intelligence? What is that?
Okay, let me read the question by my own. Why is it hard for us to get to artificial intelligence and artificial super intelligence from artificial narrow intelligence? Okay, basically all the AI researchers all over the world are basically now working on artificial narrow intelligence. They are basically trying to automate a few specific tasks right now because making a whole system like that which consensus, so which is capable of doing all the stuff as artificial general intelligence is basically kind of intelligence that we can use to make a complete humanoid robot, basically who is capable of doing all tasks that we do as well as all tasks we can not even do properly. Okay, so we require a huge neural net, a huge data set is required, as it requires training for a long time. So the scientists are working quite and I think it will require more about 300 to 400 years to reach at that point, at which we are supposing that we are currently, if we aren't familiar with artificial intelligence. Yeah, it will take some time to reach out to that level because it is a lot complex subject of complex matter to reach there, because we are now trying to automate a few tasks, so it's quite difficult to do. And I think I've completed with answering all questions. Sorry, I couldn't answer your questions because I'm also high school like you, and I am not so much expert in it. As it's been about 6 to 7 months, I started learning artificial intelligence. Before I was working as a freelancer of front-end web development, and before which I was learning various programming languages. So I think I am not able to answer your questions properly. You can email me if you have got some confusion about the stuff that I provided here. We can discuss about there. Yeah, I think that's all. That's all from my side.
So here is a question. Kumar is sending me a private message. He's saying, hello, Dai, I was disconnected from the meeting. Can I get the email ID of Avishkar Dai? And I think the email ID of Avishkar Dai is avishkarchetri@gmail.com.
Okay, let me provide it to you. We'll be providing the emails to all of the participants over here of all these speakers. I think lately in the last slide, so you can note it down from there actually. Is it haven't I right, Bishal? Aren't I right?
Yeah, I think you are.
Okay. I think now we can go over to the next speaker of the event.
Okay, we have Surendra Bikram Thapadai, who will talk about leveraging data and AI for social good. Actually, this is the great one because machine learning and data is all about making the world a better place. So please unmute Mr. Surendra Bikram Thapadai.
Hi.
Hello there.
Okay. So I'd like to begin my presentation. Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'd like to share my screen. I'm not able. Okay. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. So. Okay, let's begin with the slide. So, okay, so let me introduce myself. I am Surendra Vikram Thapa, currently a final year undergraduate student studying software engineering at Delhi Technological University, India. Currently, I am an intern at European Organization for Nuclear Research, generally known as CERN, where we work in collaboration with UNOSAT and UNITAD. UNITAD stands for United Nations Institute for Training and Research. So I am also a part-time research associate at Central Electronics Engineering Research Institute. It's known as CERI. It's a part of Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, India, which is a subsidiary organization of Ministry of Science and Technology, India, Government of India. So I was a visiting scholar to University of Technology, Sydney, sometime back in 2019, where I worked in building AI predictive models for early diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. And I work with CERN and UNOSAT with managing, pre-processing the satellite imageries and building more machine learning models for that, deep learning models in particular. So with CERI, I work in ACE AI, where we optimize the existing algorithms. For example, like picture recognition algorithms to run them in edge devices. So that's a brief overview. So in this topic, are you guys able to see this grid, Zoom grid in my screen? I think I need to hide this, right? Okay. Okay, so in this presentation, I'll be talking about leveraging data and AI for social good. So what exactly is AI for social good? AI for social good is, in layman language, it's using AI to solve world's most challenging social problems. Like Surajji, he was presenting some of the real world applications that are used for social good. That's very interesting application of AI. And some of the examples of AI for social good can be diagnosing cancer, or like helping blind people navigate their surroundings, or like identifying victims of online sexual exploitation and aiding disaster relief efforts. Like these are some of the real world AI applications which impact all of the people directly. So this is what we call AI for social good. So as Andrew Ng says, AI is the new electricity. So just as electricity transformed almost everything 100 years ago, today he actually has a hard time thinking of an industry that he doesn't think AI will transform in the next several years. Indeed, like all of the organizations, all of the industries, they are being transformed, whether it's relief industry, whether it's publication industry, whether it's education industry, whether it's healthcare industry, everything is being transformed with AI. Like electricity transformed our way of life, the way that we used to work, the way we used to operate machines, the way we used to make products. AI is also changing the scenario, like the way we make plans, the way we administer things. AI has changed everything in that direction. So why do we need data? Like we need basically, when we think of AI, like if someone would answer, so if I were to ask someone about an example of application of AI, then they would say like a recommendation system, or like search engine recommendation. That's in fact like making life easier. But in real essence, like we as a data scientist should also be more conscious on solving the problems that are more serious, to third world countries, the developing countries. Like we should not always be focusing on the problems of developed countries. We should rather be focusing on all the peoples. Like AI is something that should be, you know, accessible to all. Like electricity, like Andrew talked about AI being the new electricity. like electricity being accessible to all the people, AI also should be accessible to all the people, and the problems of the people, like it may be smaller problems, they should be solved by using AI. So this is something called Sustainable Development Goals, what we call as SDGs. Sustainable Development Goals are like, data. As a data scientist, we should be more concerned about what world will look like in in coming years, and it's our responsibility to make world a good place, a good place to live. And I would like to read out the 17 SDGs of the United Nations. The first SDG is no poverty, second is no hunger, third is good health and well-being, fourth is quality education, fifth is gender equality, sixth clean water and sanitation, seventh affordable and clean energy, eighth decent work and economic growth, ninth industry innovation and infrastructure, 10th reduced inequalities, 11th, sustainable cities and communities. 12th, responsible consumption and production. 13th, climate action. 14th, life below water. 15th, life on land. 16th, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And 17th, partnerships for the goals. So how can we, as data scientist, as data analyst, as someone who is interested in solving the problems of the world with data, how can we approach to these problems? We're going to discuss about that in upcoming slides. So some of the use cases of AI for social good I'd like to present in my slides. So first is crisis response. So how data can be used to respond to the crisis. Like, for example, there is a flood in some area, or let's take an example of Nepal earthquake. So how would we as a data scientist can leverage data in the internet? For example, let's say Twitter data at the time of flood to provide immediate rescue, to provide the information to the rescue teams, to provide information to the teams that are administering the floods, the natural calamities. So these are specific crisis related challenges, such as responses to natural and human-made disasters, in search and rescue missions, as well as the outbreak of the disease. For example, in COVID-19 situations, a lot of data scientists are working tirelessly to solve, to give out the solutions that can be helpful in tracking or like in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Examples include using AI and satellite data to map and predict the progression of wildfires and thereby optimize the response of firefighters. So that's something we do at the UNOSAT. So in UNOSAT, we majorly work with satellite images. We work with providing the partner organizations about the insights of the data that UNOSAT has from the satellite images. The images might be of flood images, refugee camp images, and images of similar kind that can be used for humanitarian purposes. So economic empowerment. So how AI can empower, how can AI can provide economic empowerment? With by economic empowerment, we don't mean just the businesses. Well, as someone, as myself, who comes from an educationally underprivileged district, I come from Sindhuli district, and here, like, most of the people are engaged in agriculture. And it's an economic empowerment. If we talk about businesses in New York, if we are using AI in businesses of New York, it doesn't directly impact the population of the people who are living here. To empower them with AI, we need to find out innovative solutions, like providing, for example, providing an application, providing AI-based applications that can identify the crop diseases, for example, because that would be very important for the farmers living here, if they can monitor what diseases are there in their crops. So this is how we empower. This is one of the examples of how we can use AI for economic empowerment. So, educational challenges. There are a lot of educational challenges, especially I'm talking about underdeveloped areas, not about the developed countries. For example, in India, in Nepal, and in underdeveloped countries, there is a huge gap between what students should learn and what resources students are getting. So for that, we can use intelligent classrooms. Intelligent classrooms meaning if the teachers are not able to if the teachers are not well qualified enough to teach something, we can replace that with AI. For example, in most of the schools, most of the government schools in my district, there are like some of the problems. For example, say schools hire English teachers, and those English teachers, they give Lok Seva exam, and after passing in Lok Seva, they just leave the school, and there is absolute vacancy. So to fill that vacancy, it requires 2-3 more months again, and it is a repetitive process. It happens over and over again. So for that, we can replace something with some intelligent AI based solutions that would teach students about vocabulary, about grammar, because that's we can do. And for example, and in next use cases in like developed areas like in Kathmandu, we can use AI for students to enable students to give adaptive mathematics test, like for meaning that if students solve easier problems, they will be navigated to higher they will navigate to problems of higher difficulties. So next case would be environmental challenges. So sustaining biodiversity and combating the depletion of natural resources. So how can we monitor, how can we preserve the natural resources? That problems should be solved by AI. And also fighting with pollution, fighting with climate change. Previously I told that we can tackle the crisis because of wildfire with AI. And similarly, we can also conserve wildlife. For example, making AI systems for identifying the poaching in the regions, illegal hunting and poaching in various regions. We can build AI systems for that also. In that direction also, a lot of work has been done, and we as people of Nepal, where wildlife and biodiversity is considered the greatest resource, we should be working on that direction also. So equality and inclusion. So AI should make the world more inclusive in the sense that people should not be discriminated on the basis of religion, race, sexual orientation, citizenship, disabilities, and various other factors. So AI should make the world more inclusive. For example, like if a human being were to sort a CV for a specific job role, then he might be biased. So we can build AI systems to do that. AI systems, on the other hand, can be biased, but like we can mitigate that bias with various techniques that researchers are currently working on. That biases I will discuss in my upcoming slides. So health and hunger, like how we can ensure that the people of all the regions of the world get access to good health, and the people, they are not hungry. How can we ensure that? We can ensure that by like for example, for solving health problems, we can use AI enabled wearable devices that can detect the people with early signs of diabetes. So by analyzing health rate sensor data, so these kinds of works, they are done a lot. For example, like for example, researchers in Google, I came through that case study. Also, researchers in Google, they are using the retinal images to find out how likely the person is, how likely a person is to suffer from heart disease or cardiac diseases. So that also can be leveraged, because like scanning or scanning the retina, it's very cheaper and economical and scalable, and can be used by a lot of people than MRI images, or say easy images, ECG images, and like advanced healthcare machines. We can do that with if we can do that with our phone, we'll be preventing a lot of time, and that will make a lot of people connected to the health. So infrastructure management, for example, we should be using AI for infrastructure management as well. For example, like water management, waste management, transportation management, urban planning, etc. For example, in a region, for example, in a region, a water supply facility, it's distributing water supplies to various houses, various colonies in the region. So we can use AI to optimize, to find out what can be the correct network so that the maximum houses are connected. That's the problem that what an algorithm would do, to find out the optimal path of optimal network of the pipelines. So that would help us to minimize our resources and maximize our objective, maximize our objective, so we can fulfill, we can like connect more people, more houses with our drinking water facilities. So again, there might be a lot of use cases like handling traffic congestion, traffic jam, and problems of similar kind. So again, we have next slide. The AI should ensure security and justice. This domain actually involves challenges in society, such as preventing crime and other physical dangers, as well as tracking criminals and mitigating bias in police forces. Like in police forces, we have seen that there is a bias. Like recently, we saw a movement, Black Lives Matter. So there is bias in police forces, because like police forces, they tend to think that black peoples are more susceptible to be a criminal than white people. So that's really wrong. So we should be using AI in that direction. AI also is biased, but like we can mitigate that using a lot of techniques that we'll discuss in the further slides. So it focuses on security, policing, and criminal justice issues as a unique category. Also, there are a lot of things that can be done in this domain, like summarizing legal documents and problems of similar kind. That also can be done to ensure security and justice using artificial intelligence algorithms. So this is big data SDGs, like the SDGs that I discussed in the earlier slides, the 17 SDGs. And like in here, in this slide, we'll discuss about how data science can be used to solve, to address these 17 sustainable development goals. So no poverty, how can AI solve no poverty? So spending patterns on mobile phone services can provide proxy indicators of income levels, etc. can be tracked, and for that can be used as a data. So zero hunger, crowdsourcing, or tracking of food prices listed online can help monitor food security in near real time. So also good health and well-being, as I have already discussed, can be ensured using AI. Also quality education, providing students with good educational facilities, smart classrooms, gender equality, mitigating the gender bias, and clean water and sanitation, like using AI for like better management of the infrastructure. Like for example, sensors connected to water pumps can track access to clean water. So also affordable and clean energy. For example, last year we did research in maximizing the electricity output using some novel optimization algorithms. So optimization algorithms and artificial intelligence based algorithms can help us to optimize the flow of electricity, the use of electricity, and that can make electricity affordable, because some people are using it extensively, and there is again like some people are not able to use electricity, and some people are using it too much, which makes people suffer from load sheddings, etc. So also decent work and economic growth, as I've discussed that for example, ads have also helped a lot, like the intelligent AI ads in the sense, like if someone is searching for a tailor, then then YouTube video recommendation, it recommends the people with for example, say like Shrestha tailorings, videos of Shrestha tailoring. So such videos can be used by, such videos can be developed by NGOs to, you know, leverage people who are in underdeveloped regions to make a platform to sell their products and market their products. So also industry innovation and infrastructure that overlaps with the previous SDGs that I've discussed. Also reduced inequality, sustainable cities and communities. Satellite remote sensing can track encroachment on public land or spaces such as parks and forests. That's what we also do at UNOSAT. Also responsible consumption and production. Climate action, combining satellite imagery, crowdsourced witness accounts, and open data can help track deforestation, wildfire, etc. This should be tracked. And life below water, so maritime vessel tracking, illegal fishing, etc. Can be tracked using AI. So life on land can be monitored. For example, we can monitor wildlife. We can use AI on identifying how many number of tigers are there in certain wildlife reserves, because like it's a problem of simple image classification, and AI algorithms, they have an accuracy of more than 99.9% in this direction in identification of animals. So peace, justice, and strong institutions, as I've already discussed, and also partnerships for the goals, for the SDGs. We have to be partnering with a lot of organizations that are working on statistics, mobile and internet data, and provide a better and real-time understanding of today's connected world, the world of data. So some of the use cases I would like to summarize that uses AI for social good. So illegal poaching and hunting monitoring, slums and refugee camp monitoring, building diagnosis systems that are more accessible, wildlife conservation, urban planning, making education more accessible, keeping people safe by predicting disasters like flood, earthquake, etc. Also making efficient distribution of resources, uses of AI in agriculture that I have discussed earlier. So this is a summarized overview of 17 SDGs and how we can use AI in solving, in approaching to those 17 sustainable development goals. So challenges in AI, like there are, despite various advantages of AI, there are disadvantages of AI too. There is bias in algorithms, like AI systems that can also be biased. Like for example, if I am taught to hate black people, if my parents taught me, teach me to hate black people, hate people of other religions, I will learn the same thing, unfortunately. So if the algorithms are taught to learn bias, maybe by feeding the biased data, maybe by you know, by some algorithmic bias, then the algorithm is susceptible to more bias. So there is threat to safety also, there is threat to security. And AI systems can also be threat to security, because if we deploy them for you know, for medical operations, and they are not as intelligent as humans, they lack emotional conscience. So for that reason, they can be threatful if we use them for critical purposes. So right now they are not well used for such critical purposes, like in war or in some critical purposes like operations, tumor operations, etc. So that's one of the challenges of AI. And also AI is mostly accessible to only developed countries, and for that reason, as AI researchers of developing country, we should be focused on how we can bring AI, to Nepal, how we can make AI accessible to people of Nepal. We should be focused on solving the problems in that domain. So this is what I want to discuss. This is what is called bias in AI. So for example, for example, this was a software made by American police department, made for the American police department, and that software, when it was used to classify how risky the prisoners are, then like you can see that white prisoners, they were shown to be less risky than the black prisoners. So this is what we call bias in AI. And here you can see, after his release, he again was found as offender. So but the AI algorithm, it gave him a score of 3, which is low risk. But you can see Brisa Borden, she was not found of any subsequent offenses, but she was given high risk of 0.8 by AI. This is something that's so disgraceful, and this is what we
I'm
should.
sorry to inform you that you have quite less time remaining, 2 to 3 minutes now.
Okay. I'm wrapping up.
Okay, sir. Bye. Thank you.
Okay, so this is what we call algorithmic bias, and in this direction we should be working on, because when data is less representative, then there might be problems. So it has the researchers, they have to understand the data carefully. That's what AI should be like, a more inclusive AI, more social AI, a more good AI. So also here there is in the left you can see picture of Barack Obama. He was pixelized and later on reconstructed. Then the result was not Barack Obama; it was a white people, and maybe the AI learned white supremacy because of the data problem or some algorithmic bias. That also should be a problem that should be looked upon by AI for social good, by people, researchers who are working on AI for social good. And here is an interesting case. So some researchers, they translated sentences in English to Turkish, and again from Turkish to English. So they translated she's a doctor and he's a nurse to Turkish, and again from Turkish to English. So after translation, it was shown he's a doctor and she's a nurse, but original text was she's a doctor, he's a nurse. This is what we call gender bias, because we are taught, because like us, algorithms are taught to learn that females are nurse and males are doctors. So this is the problem that we should look upon. And this is what we call a bias table. And in natural language processing, there has been a lot of research in this direction to mitigate this bias. And right now, if you translate, if you make the same translations, Google shows a different thing. Google shows both he's a doctor and he's a nurse. So this is what researchers in AI for social good has done to make the world a better place, an inclusive place, to mitigate gender bias, to mitigate racial bias, and so on. So there are major takeaways, and this is my last slide. So as data scientists, as someone who are involved in data science, what we should do, we should always think of how we can contribute to SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Our main objective, we should be stuck with our main goal, but as data scientists, we should be conscious to address these problems also, the problems of poverty, the problems of inequality. And also we should be learning how we can leverage data for social good. And also as data scientists, we should be engaging in collaborations with NGOs, INGOs, and social work organizations. I personally am engaged with DataKind, which is which is an organization that uses data for social good. And also we should provide tools and technologies to less privileged groups and we should be focused on making tools and technologies open source as possible, because when the tools are open source, it can be replicated and used by the less privileged people. And but still there might be some problems of hardware resources, like the people who don't have access to GPUs, etc., might face some problem, but still they can try things out. They can understand if we make our tools and technologies open source. So also we need to design tools and technologies that have human-centered design, that are economical and scalable, like I discussed earlier, scanning retinal images, scanning retina with the help of phone images, and detecting if the person is susceptible to cardiac arrest. So that's what is economical plan, human-centered plan, and that can be scaled up to touch millions and billions of lives. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. You can connect me on LinkedIn. Here is my LinkedIn. So I'd love to connect, and hoping to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Here are some questions.
Okay, I'd like to stop sharing my screen.
So
okay,
Oshin says, how can AI be biased because it just feeds into the data we input? Kind of, yeah, this question is kind of answered already, but
because sorry. How can AI be trained if it is biased just as us? For example, if you feed a data set in which black people are, black people are criminals and white people are not criminals, then if you give a black people, if you feed it with an image of black person, it would classify it as black person. So data, it should be clean, it should be understood clearly. So if you feed biased data, it will obviously give biased results.
So Vision has a question. Some people believe that AI could cause destruction because it will have the ability to think, reason, and reprogram itself. So how is the problem tackled while designing an AI? It's a great question, I think.
Some people believe that AI could cause destruction because it will have the ability to think, reason. It's not like currently the AI that we talk about, that I am referring to, they are not like, as smart as we think. Like they cannot mimic human behaviors like thinking, reasoning, reprogramming itself. So we are still far away from fearing that AI would cause destruction to us. So the things that AI can learn, they are in our control.
So the next question is from Saurabhi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong way. So the question, as a lot of pioneers in AI, Lee for E have predicted that AI would soon take over people's job. Do you still think AI would be used for the social good, since people losing their jobs could make them anxious, contradicting the entire idea of social good? What's your take on this? A great question.
अब यसलाई कसरी अप्रोच गर्ने भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हैन, यसलाई अर्को वेमा अप्रोच गरौँ न हैन। 1920 मा चाहिँ हामीलाई थाहा थिएन नि कि ओहो एनालिटिक्समा यत्रो जबहरु आउँछन्, यत्रो धेरै जब आइराछ एनालिटिक्समा हैन। एनालिटिक्समा मिलियन्स अफ जब्स छ हैन। मान्छेले नेचुरल ल्याङ्ग्वेज प्रोसेसिङ इन्जिनियरको मिलियन्स अफ जब्स छ, कम्प्युटर भिजनको मिलियन अफ जब्समा डिमान्ड छ हैन। एआई ले लि पनि राछ हैन, जब दि पनि राछ नि हैन। लाइक अब त्यसलाई कसरी चाहिँ गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुराहरु हो हैन। अब आफूलाई इन्टिग्रेट गर्ने हैन, आफूले अब एआई स्किल्सहरु लर्न गर्ने हैन, आफूले एआई जब्सहरु गेट गर्ने। र मेबी यो भनेको चाहिँ अब फ्युचरको कुरा हो कि ह्युमन चाहिँ सबैलाई रिप्लेस गर्दिने एआईले भनेको मेबी आफ्टर 50 years, and then after that we should be thinking of taxing the robots. That's the problem that is being discussed by a lot of researchers. त्यो भनेको अहिलेको केसमा चाहिँ अब एआईले सबै जब लियो भनेर चाहिँ त्यस्तो हुनु पनि छैन, एङ्सियस हुनु पनि छैन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ। किनभने क्रिएट गरिरहेछ, इनफ्याक्ट रादर बढी जब चाहिँ क्रिएट गरिरहेछ जस्तो लाग्छ क्या मलाई। मेबी अब फ्युचरमा भनेको फ्युचरको जब्सहरु चाहिँ अब सबै जब्सहरुले कोडिङ रिक्वायर गर्न सक्छ हैन, डेटा साइन्सको नलेज रिक्वायर गर्न सक्छ। तर अब त्यो विथ टाइम चाहिँ लर्न गर्नुपर्छ हैन। हामीले एक्सेल लर्न गरे जस्तो हाई स्कुलमा चाहिँ एक्सेल लर्न गर्न अपरिहार्य हुन्थ्यो हैन, त्यस्तै गरी चाहिँ। since AI is the new electricity and would transform the entire industry, would it not replace the current job holders because of exponential innovation and development? Exponential innovation and development ले job create गर्नलाई पो हामीले innovate गरेर हो नि job लिनलाई हैन नि अब टेलिकम इन्डस्ट्रीले millions of job create गरेर हुन्छ अब भन्नु न एनसेलमै पनि काम गर्ने कतिजना होला त कति धेरै छन् हैन टेलिकम इन्डस्ट्रीले ल ठीक छ अब चिट हुलाकहरुलाई रिप्लेस गर्यो भनेर त्यो डिरेक्सनमा सोचेर भएन नि हामीले हैन हुलाकीको जब रिप्लेस गर्यो हैन हुलाक अफिसै बन्द गर्यो टेलिकमले भनेर अब त्यो डिरेक्सनमा सोचेर भएन हैन हामीलाई कसरी कन्भिनियन्ट भयो दुईटा हुलाकीको जब गयो होला हैन यहाँ 20,000 वटा जब क्रिएट गरेछ नि त टेलिकमले हैन त्यो डिरेक्सनमा पनि हामीले हेर्नु पर्यो व्हाट इज द डिफरेन्स बिट्विन एआई एन्ड एमएल एआई भनेको चाहिँ एकदमै ब्रोडर फिल्ड हो एमएल भनेको चाहिँ एकदमै कन्सन्ट्रेटेड सानो फिल्ड हो हैन एआई ले चाहिँ अब एआईलाई चाहिँ अब एउटा के छ सबसेट भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एआईको सबसेट चाहिँ मसिन लर्निङको सबसेट चाहिँ डिप लर्निङ भनेर छ हैन एआईले चाहिँ जेनरल इन्टेलिजेन्स सम्मको कुराहरू डिल गर्छ हैन तर मसिन लर्निङले चाहिँ स्पेसिफिक प्रब्लम्सहरू चाहिँ डिल गर्छ फर एक्जाम्पल रिकमेन्डेसन सिस्टम्सहरू बिल्ड गर्नु भनेको एमएल भयो हैन र एआई भनेको चाहिँ अब एउटा ह्युमन बिङलाई म जस्तै मसँगै कन्भर्सेसन गर्न सक्ने हैन मसँगै ल भाइ आज गफ गरौँ भनेर गफ गर्न सक्ने मसिन बन्नु भनेको त्यो चाहिँ एआई भयो हैन एमएल भनेको चाहिँ अब सिम्पल रिकमेन्डेसन सिस्टम्सहरू र अझ कम्प्लेक्स सिस्टमहरू सेल्फ ड्राइभिङ कार्सहरू पनि अब एमएल डिप लर्निङ नै भयो हैन एआई भनेको चाहिँ इन जेनरल इन्टेलिजेन्स भनेर चाहिँ गरिन्छ हैन र एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टिङ के थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ मेरो ल्याबमा चाहिँ के भनिन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हैन एकचोटि चाहिँ मैले भनेको थिएँ कि
Can you please speak in English?
Okay. So I want to share an interesting incident. Like at one of my labs, you know, I talked to my mentor and told that I am interested in AI. I have done AI a lot, and my mentor strictly told me that don't use AI in my lab. Use only deep learning or machine learning. So like artificial intelligence is moreover like general thing, you know, that would mimic human behavior and learn, reason like human beings.
Yeah, I think we are done now. I have some more thing to share here.
Okay.
About young science community.
Okay. So there is a last question. Do chatbots use the same concept of AI? Yeah, chatbots use the concept of AI.
Okay. Bishal, can you please share my slides of young science community? So as it's a community for all the high schoolers.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Dai. It was an awesome presentation from you. Yeah, we have an international audience here. He's from Lahore, Pakistan. I'm glad to have him here. Bishal, can I please get my slide? I think Bishal is muted, right? Bishal?
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, the screen is visible, but I am not being able to see my presentation.
Okay, all right, let me fix it. Okay, here we go.
I'd like to tell you something about Young Science Community. The Young Science Community is an initiative by RECAST, and it has been started since Bhadra, and it's generally an community for all the high schoolers all over the Nepal, so that we can facilitate teaching, learning activities among ourselves, and also do a number of projects in groups. So in groups of high schoolers, so that we can foster the knowledge that we have and share the knowledge that we have. Vishal, can you get me, please?
Okay.
It's at the end. It's at the end, actually. Okay. Yeah. Young Science Community is technically supported by leading personalities in science and technology in Nepal, as they have been continuously involved in the process of designing and managing of this grand initiative. I would like to acknowledge Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari, sir. Can you please get me to the next slide? I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari, sir, Dr. Mahabir Pun, sir, Kapil Paudel, sir, Dr. Jyotigiri ma'am, and Jivan Bhattarai Dai. As without their support, I don't assume that our community has reached up to this level. And I will be providing you the email with the information about how you can join our community. The forms will be provided open soon, and you can all join our community and help us run this initiative. And we'll also facilitate you with various equipments that you require. Okay. And can you get me to the next slide? We are the founding members of this community. Okay. Amit Timalsina, myself, Lucky Saha. You can see hi over here. Manish Sharma, Suraj Thapa, Pravesh Shrestha, and Rohan Acharya. We all are working very hard, really hard to continue this initiative. And I like to offer my sincere gratitude to Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari sir, because without him, I don't assume that we will be able to reach at this point in this community. He has supported a lot for continuing with this community. Okay, I think we are at the end of this presentation too. Can you get me to the next slide? Yeah, if you have any queries about our community, what we do in your young scientist community, then you can please ask a few other questions. Okay. I don't see any questions over here. Bishal, can you take over from here from me?
I think there are no questions here. So I think, okay, we do not have any questions, so we will move on to the next step of this program that I would like to welcome Mr. Rameshwar Adhikari sir to conclude this event.
थ्याङ्क यू भाइहरू बहिनीहरू को हुनुहुन्छ भाइहरू नै धेरै छ नानीहरू त्यति धेरै देखेन हैन तपाईहरु सबैको एकदमै जय होस् नमस्कार भन्छु तपाईहरुलाई मैले एउटा सानो यहाँ तपाईहरुसँग कुरा गर्दा गर्दै मैले यहाँ प्रेजेन्टेसन तयार गरे म शेयर गरौँ
गर्नु सर
ओके छोटो छ 10-15 मिनेट लाग्छ तर
किन सर हजुरसँग टाइम लिदिनु छ
ओके अब त्यो कहाँ छ खोज्नु पर्छ मैले ल के भयो एकछिन है मैले म त तपाईहरु जस्तो एकदम चलाक छैन नि म अलि स्लो भएको हुनाले अलिकति टाइम लाग्छ तपाईहरु त धेरै नै चलाक छ युङहरु so it takes some time for me just few minutes तर म के ग्यारेन्टी गर्छु भने it will not be boring त्यो चाहिँ म ग्यारेन्टी गर्न सक्छु अब कहाँ छ त भने व्हाइट बोर्ड कसरी थाहा हुन्छ ओके डेस्कटप आयो यहाँ देखियो मेरो स्लाइड देखियो
स्लाइड लोड भइसक्यो जस्तो सर
देखिन्छ
स्क्रिन भिजिबल छ स्लाइड चाहिँ लोड भएको छैन क्या
स्लाइड शेयर भएको छैन
सर स्क्रिन शेयर अन भएको छ भएको चाहिँ उचै भएको छैन फाइल पर्टिकुलर फाइल चाहिँ ओपन भएको छैन
ए एकछिन है त त्यसो भए त के भएको त के गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने नै मैले कुरा बुझ्न सकेन ल अब चाहिँ पक्कै हुन्छ डेफिनेटली हुन्छ अब आयो
आएको छ यस
राजेन्द्र आयो
यस सर इट्स भिजिबल
रिकास्ट को लक्ष्य भनी देखियो
यस सर
ओके ल त्यसो भए मेरो कुरा राम्रोसँग ध्यान दिएर सुन्ने अब सबभन्दा पहिला त यहाँ आज जो जम्मा भएको छ जो यहाँ बाँकी हुनुहुन्छ सुनेर बसिरहनु भएको तपाईहरु सबैलाई म एकदमै हार्दिक नमस्कार गर्छु मलाई चाहिँ यो इंग्लिशमा भन्दा नेपालीमा भन्न मलाई छिटो हुन्छ अनि मलाई सजिलो पनि लाग्छ त्यसकारणले तपाईहरु कोही पनि नेपाली नबुझ्ने यहाँ कोही छैन एकजना छ लाहोरको मान्छे आई एम सरी फर द very beautiful girl I think from Lahore yeah I feel very comfortable to speak in Nepali so I think but you will understand what I am trying to tell you with my slides with my pictures so I am giving my lecture in Nepali सबभन्दा पहिला सबैलाई फेरि पनि नमस्कार किनभने एउटा कुरा भन्न चाहन्छु आजको प्रेजेन्टेसन जस्तो यति राम्रो मैले यस्तो धेरै प्रेजेन्टेसन सुने भाइ बहिनीहरू मैले आफैले पनि गरे होला बाहिर विदेशमा पनि नेपालमा पनि गरेर यस्तो प्रेजेन्टेसनहरू मैले गरे होला 200-300 वटा मलाई थाहा छैन है अनि म चाहिँ यो त्रिभुवन युनिभर्सिटीको प्रोफेसर हुँ केमिस्ट्रीको त्यसपछि म यो रिकास्टको डाइरेक्टर पनि हुँ म धेरै संसारको धेरै देशमा पनि गएको पनि छु तर म तपाईहरुलाई भन्न चाहन्छु कि आजको मेरो दिन चाहिँ एकदम विशेष दिन हो है यस्तो राम्रो प्रेजेन्टेसनहरू ब्रिलियन्ट प्रेजेन्टेसनहरू चाहिँ म साच्चै भनेको मैले अहिलेसम्म सुनेको थिएन दिस इज माई फर्स्ट टाइम इन माई लाइफ दैट आई लिसन टु मच यंगर पिपल देन मी बट दे आर बेटर देन मी एकदमै राम्रो म सबै स्पिकरहरूलाई मैले अहिले भन्न थालेँ नाम बिर्सेला फेरि हैन उता शरणको थापाजी त्यसपछि माइक्रोसफ्टबाट सुरु गरेको हाम्रो के नाम गरे हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यसपछि अर्को साथी सबैलाई र हाम्रो अमितलाई पनि यो प्रेजेन्टेसनको लागि एकदमै धन्यवाद भन्छु ग्रेट प्रेजेन्टेसन्स अर्को कुरा के भन्न चाहन्छु भने तपाईहरुलाई मैले यहाँ गर्दै थिएँ मैले आज भएन वी अल्सो डिजाइन सम सर्टिफिकेट के पनि होइन तर एकदमै ठुलो कुरा पनि हो एन्ड वी विल सेन्ड इट टु यु बाइ मेल इमेल त्यसो गरौँला त्यसो पनि भने त्यसपछि अर्को कुरा के भन्न चाहन्छु भने मैले तपाईहरुको जुन कन्फिडेन्स देखेँ कन्फिडेन्स त्यो विश्वास अठोट दृढ निश्चय मैले जुन देखेँ आई डोन्ट सी दैट एभ्रीवेयर बट आई सी दैट अन द आइज अफ यङ साइन्टिस्ट एकदमै थ्याङ्क्स भन्छु तपाईहरुलाई म त्यसकारणले के स्टोरीहरु भन्न सुनाउन चाहन्छु त्यो तीनटा छोटो छोटो स्टोरीहरु I am sure it is not necessary to tell you stories to motivate you, not necessary to encourage you because you are encouraged by yourself. You have energy yourself, you are the light in yourself inside you and you have recognized that. मेरो विचारमा तर कहिलेकाहीँ के हुन्छ भने बलिरहेको दियो हुन्छ नि बत्ती मोमबत्ती त्यो मोमबत्ती त बलेको त हुन्छ तर कहिलेकाहीँ यस्तो यताउताबाट हावा आयो भने त्यसले के गर्दिन्छ भने त्यो हावाले मोमबत्तीलाई यस्तो यस्तो गराइदिन्छ हल्लाइदिन्छ है त्यस्तो बेलामा चाहिँ अडिएर बस्नुपर्छ भन्ने मेसेजको लागि म केही कुराहरू बताउन चाहन्छु म सुरु गर्छु कहाँबाट भने हाम्रो थापाजीको प्रेजेन्टेसनबाट उहाँले के भन्नुभयो भने उहाँकोमा थियो यस्तो थियो यहाँबाट सुरु गरेको उहाँले हैन दिस इज फ्रम हिज स्लाइड सस्टेनेबल डेभलपमेन्ट गोल एचिभ गर्नको लागि देखिन्छ यो सुरेन्द्र विक्रम यो सस्टेनेबल गोल एचिभ गर्नको लागि एआई कसरी युजफुल हुन सक्छ भनेर त्यो बारेमा उहाँले कति राम्रो एक्सप्लेन गर्नुभयो मैले त्यो एक्सप्लेन गर्न जान्दिन सक्दिन तर मलाई असाध्यै वन्डरफुल लाग्यो सो नाउ दिस इज योर जब मैले अब तपाईलाई एउटा च्यालेन्ज दिन्छु हेर्नुस् नाउ दिस इज अ च्यालेन्ज टु यु यङ साइन्टिस्ट बिकज यु नीड च्यालेन्ज हैन तपाईले हामीलाई च्यालेन्ज दिने होइन हामीलाई च्यालेन्ज दिएर के काम नसक्ने मान्छेहरुलाई हैन सो वी हैव टु गिभ द च्यालेन्ज टु दोज हु आर एबल टु डु दैट सो यु आर द पर्सन्स हु क्यान डु दिस who can hold this mission. So this कारणले AI को प्रयोग गरेर let us eliminate hunger from the world. Let us eliminate poverty from the world. Let us build collaboration, partnership and so on, all the things. म यो एक नम्बरको बाट सुरु गर्न चाहन्छु त्यो तपाई गर्ने चाहिँ तपाईहरुले हो you are the leaders. यसैले I see we can get Nobel Prize for our country. हाम्रो नेपालीले अहिलेसम्म ल्याएको छैन है अब ल्याउनु पर्छ म तपाईहरुको यसको लागि के भन्न चाहन्छु भने we are the richest people in the world. तपाईहरुले कहिलेकाहीँ सोच्नु भएको होला I am sure कहिलेकाहीँ सोच्नु पनि भएको होला कस्तो खत्तम ठाउँमा जन्मेछु मेरो बाउ कस्तो खत्तम आमा कस्तो खत्तम यो दाइ त जन एकदमै खत्तम जुर हैन साथीहरु पनि यस्तै छ sometimes you also think like that I am sure है तर तपाईहरु कहिलेकाहीँ के सोच्नुहुन्छ भन्देखि नि why not I am the strength I am the mountain I am Mount Everest I am Buddha I come from that country. I am sure you think also like that. Many of you also think that why not me in the Mars? Why only Apollo? Why not a rocket named Sagarmatha? तपाईहरुले यस्तो पनि पक्कै सोच्छ होला डेफिनेटली सोच्छ मलाई थाहा छ किनभने I also used to think like that when I was child I was young तर म तपाईलाई के भन्न चाहन्छु भने when we start doing something when we start and when we continue doing this then we will get there किनभने तपाईहरुलाई म एउटा कुरा भन्न चाहन्छु तपाईहरुले एकदम आश्चर्यजनक पुलहरु रकेटहरु यस्तो के चीज देख्नु भएको छ होला त्यो सबभन्दा पहिला कहाँ बन्छ जग्गामा होइन त्यो सबभन्दा पहिला यहाँ बन्छ हेर्नुस् यहाँ in the mind you make everything everything, every object that you create on the earth, as an object, that you create first of all in your mind. त्यसैले त्यो माइन्डमा क्रिएट गर्नुपर्छ। त्यसैले म यो तपाईहरुकै सम्मानमा यो मैले गीत पनि गाइदिन्छु। आकाशमा न्यानो घाम चम्किएको हेर, मेरो नेता देश हाँक्न लम्किएको हेर। यु आर माई लिडर्स। टुट्छ बन्धन, फाट्छ बादल, हट्छ अन्धकार, खुल्छ हाम्रो उन्नतिको चौडा स्वर्णद्वार। यो सपना हामीले बनाउनु पर्छ। तर मैले यो सपना देखाउन खोजेको यहाँ यो चित्रबाट। त्यो चङ्गामा चाहिँ चङ्गा उडाउन राख्ने होइन, चन्द्रमा हाल्ने, त्यो ड्रिम हामीले बनाउनु पर्छ। त्यसो भयो भने वी बिकम प्रस्पर, हामी धनी हुन्छौँ, उद्योग सिर्जना हुन्छ, रोजगारी हुन्छ। त्यसको लागि सस्टेनेबल डेभलपमेन्ट गोल 1 बाट म सुरु गर्छु। पोभर्टी एलिमिनेसन, दिस इज द फर्स्ट गोल। म साँच्चै भन्न चाहन्छु, दिस इज एक्चुअली नट निडेड टु एलिमिनेट द पोभर्टी बिकज देयर इज नो पोभर्टी। मेरो कुरा पत्ता हुनुहुन्छ? अलि मैले अलि इन्टेलेक्चुअल पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूबाट भनेको, देयर इज नो पोभर्टी इन द फिजिकल वर्ल्ड बिकज इट कम्स फ्रम आवर इनसाइड वर्ल्ड। यो मनबाट आउँछ। हेर्नुहोस्, पोभर्टी इज द्याट वी थिङ्क द्याट वी आर विक। पोभर्टी इज द्याट वी थिङ्क द्याट वी हेभ नथिङ। यो स्वामी विवेकानन्दको भनाइबाट मैले राखेँ। फिजिकल वर्ल्डमा यो मात्रै होइन, मैले अलि जेनरलाइज गरेको। मेन कुरा चाहिँ के हो भनेदेखि पोभर्टी छ, तर मेन पोभर्टी भनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो थटमा छ। त्यसकारणले यो थटमा हामीले कस्तो बनाउनु पर्यो भने नि, लेट अस मेक अ फ्लाइट टु द माउन्टेन्स, टु द हेभन, लाइक दिस ब्युटिफुल कलर्ड बर्ड। यो मैले फोटोग्राफर बिमिता भण्डारीजीको बाट लिएको हो। यो चराले जस्तै हामी एउटा फ्लाइट, एउटा उडान भरौँ। यसको लागि म तपाईहरुलाई केही घटनाहरू सुनाउन चाहन्छु। यो रेने डेकार्डको पिक्चर हो। तपाईहरु मभन्दा धेरै नै जान्ने हुनुहुन्छ, ज्ञानी हुनुहुन्छ। I don't want to teach you anything. You don't need anything to be taught by me. You have your teacher inside you. You have your guru inside you. You just ask him or her. तैपनि म तपाईहरुलाई एक्जाम्पल सुनाउन चाहे। रेने डेकार्डले भन्नुभएको छ, I think therefore I am. You think therefore you are. तपाईहरु थिंक गर्नुहुन्छ नि, त्यसैले you thought that okay we do artificial intelligence, you are doing this. You are thinking that we do the seminar, webinar, so you did it, already did it. You also thought that okay we maintain the time. How wonderfully you maintain the time. We talked about it yesterday night. So nice. तपाईहरुले अचिभ गर्न नसक्ने कुरा संसारमा केही पनि हुँदैन। रेने डेकार्डले भन्नुभएको। म एक दुईटा ड्रिमहरुको बारेमा बताउँछु, यो केसहरुको बारेमा बताउँछु। ड्रिम भनेको कस्तो हुन्छ एकदमै क्विकली। यो वुमेन अन द मून, फ्राउ इम मून भन्ने मुभी बनेको थियो 1929 मा, जस्ट 30 years before man could land on the moon. फ्रिज लाङ भन्नेले बनाउनु भएको 30 वर्ष अगाडि नै। त्यसपछि यो मुभीमा के थियो भने एकजना महिला एउटा जहाजमा चढेर चन्द्रमामा जानुहुन्छ। मैले पनि यो सुनेको कथा हो, यो कथालाई मैले यहाँ जोडेको। त्यसपछि त्यहाँ के हुन्छ भने यस्तो यहाँ देखाएको छ नि, यो जहाजमा चढेर महिला जान्छ। त्यो जहाजमा हुन्छ 10 9 8 7 6 काउन्टडाउन, त्यहाँबाट सुरु भएको, एपोलो 11 बाट होइन। त्यसपछि त्यसमा चढेर एकजना बहादुर महिला चन्द्रमामा जान्छ। एकजना बच्चाले 17 वर्षको थियो, he was watching this movie, silent movie, and this boy told that when I become grow, when I become younger, much younger, when I have much more energy, then I will learn all this technique. I will build this spacecraft myself. I will ride on it, and there will be countdown. I will go to the moon. So he was so determined, and he was Wernher von Braun, the engineer, who was the first to make this V2 rocket. And this rocket was launched into the space in 1942. 13-14 वर्ष पछाडि। So this is one case, Wernher von Braun. अर्को एउटा केस बनाउन चाहन्छु ड्रिमकै बारेमा। तपाईहरुलाई कहिलेकाहीँ लाग्छ होला यस्तो गर्नुहुन्न, खै के हो जस्तो लाग्छ होला। Don't think that like that. You keep persistence. गरेको गरे गर्ने, अलिअलि गर्ने, धेरै नगर्ने, बिस्तारै गर्ने, साथीहरु बटुल्दै गर्ने, मिल्ने साथीहरु जो अहिले गरिरहनु भएको छ यही गर्ने हो। So I will tell you the second example. यो अक्षर देख्नुभयो? It looks like English, it looks like something like that. You cannot read it. So this was something written by a very, very famous person. I will tell you after a while. Your handwriting lekhne manche, this was the guy. Looks wonderful. So handsome boy with beard, of course, with long hair. यसको कथा सुन्नुभयो भने तपाईको आङ सिरिङ्ग गर्छ, करेन्ट आउँछ जिउमा. So I will tell you the story very quickly. 150 years ago, उहाँले लेख्नु भएको, 152 years भयो अहिले. उहाँले लेख्नु भएको के थियो भने he was the person called Dmitry Mendeleev. यहाँ रसियनमा लेखिरहेको छ मैले, त्यही भएर. So he was the person who founded this periodic table. Forget about it. अहिले तपाईले periodic table को कन्ट्रोल गर्न पनि पर्दैन. Maybe it's not necessary for you, or your artificial intelligence can make much better Mendeleev's periodic table. Maybe, I think so. यो हामीले यो machine learning, artificial intelligence को प्रयोग गरेर यसलाई अझ अर्को डाइमेन्सनमा उठाउन सक्छौं होला. So the study of the elements, compounds, things, materials would be much easier. त उहाँको कथा के छ भने Mendeleev was born in 1834, long ago है. अहिले 2034 हुन लाग्यो. 20 भयो, अब 14 वर्ष पछाडी हुन्छ. So about 200 years ago, he was born in Siberia. त्यो बेलामा ट्रेनहरु यस्तो के पनि थिएन. त्यति शैलीसँग थिएन हेर्नुस्. He was the youngest in the family among about a dozen. कति थियो बच्चाहरु. तिनीहरु मध्ये सबभन्दा कान्छो. अनि when Dmitry was little, his father went blind. अनि त्यसपछि पछाडी उहाँ बित्नु पनि भयो. अनि त्यसपछि his mother became the manager of a successful glass factory which burned down later. हेर्नुस् कत्रो वज्रपात. त्यत्रो बच्चाहरु छ, बाउ मरिसक्यो, आमा बल्ल बल्ल म्यानेजर हुनु भएको थियो, उहाँ पनि त्यो पनि फ्याक्ट्री नै जल्यो. अब जब जानी भइहाल्यो. तर त्यो बच्चालाई के लाग्यो भने 1950 मा कति वर्षको थियो होला विचार गर्ने यहाँ? 16 वर्ष. He was 16, about almost your age. हैन तपाईहरु भन्दा एक दुई वर्ष भाइ छ, विचार गर्नुस् यहाँ. मलाई थाहा छैन पोखराबाट काठमाडौँको डिस्टेन्स कति छ ठ्याक्कै भन्ने, अहिले मलाई नसोध्नु होला है. म त्यस्तो एकदम ब्रिलियन्ट इन्टेलिजेन्ट मान्छे होइन. few hundred kilometers हैन. हाम्रो अब विराटनगरबाट काठमाडौँ आउन पर्यो भनेदेखि few hundred मात्रै हो. तपाईहरुलाई थाहा छ साइबेरियाबाट मस्कोको डिस्टेन्स कति छ? 10,000 किलोमिटर, 10,000 किलोमिटर्स. त्यो 12-13 वटा बच्चाहरुको आमा र त्यो बच्चा 16 वर्षको बच्चा साइबेरियाबाट सेन्ट पिटर्सबर्ग यहाँसम्म मस्कोसम्म हिँडेर आयो. हिँडेर on foot. अनि के भयो त्यहाँ आएपछि? No boy, it's too late. You are not qualified to go to this school, so you cannot get entrance to this university. He did not get it. 10,000 किलोमिटर हिँडिसकेपछि कसरी आयो होला विचार गर्नुस्. त्यसपछि उनीहरु के गरे भने त्यहाँबाट सेन्ट पिटर्सबर्ग गयो. त्यो पनि some 1000 किलोमिटर, 1000 किलोमिटर भन्दा बढ्ता छ. गएपछि he was enrolled there. त्यति ठुलो मेहनत गर्नुपर्छ त्यो पाउनको लागि. अब तेस्रो मैले एक्जाम्पल भन्छु. Quickly, यो महिलाको फोटो देख्नुभयो. These women searched ancient compendia of traditional Chinese medicine to find a cure for cancer. के भयो भने उहाँको टिमले 1964 को कुरा हो. Think about it, 1964. जने अब अहिले कति भयो? 40 वर्ष हुन लाग्यो कि त्यस्तै हुन लाग्यो हैन. Her team reviewed ancient medical texts to understand Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese way of fighting malaria. 2,40,000 वटा कम्पाउन्डहरु स्टडी गर्यो त्यो टिमले. कहिलेकाहीँ त्यो एउटा स्टडी गर्नलाई पनि हप्तौं लाग्छ. 2,40,000 कसरी गर्यो होला. अनि अन्तिममा they found the reference to sweet wormwood, which had been used in China 1600 years ago to treat some disease which was similar to malaria. त्यस्तो रहेछ त्यो. अनि त्यो रहेछ. त्यसपछि she found the drug. This sweet wood was the drug against malaria. When she isolated the ingredient she believed that would work, she volunteered to be the first human subject herself. She is the first mainland Chinese scientist to have received Nobel Prize in scientific category, and she did so without doctorate. She was not PhD. And she also did not have medical degree. And she was never outside China. So she got it. तपाईहरु छक्क पर्नुहुन्छ. त्यो स्वीट वुड के थियो? It was तितेपाती. तितेपाती भन्ने जताततै हुन्छ नि, त्यसबाट पत्ता लगाउनु भएको. So it takes 1964 तिर सुरु गरेको कामको 2015 मा नोबेल प्राइज पायो. So you need patience to do that. Patience भन्ने कुरा चाहिन्छ. अर्को एउटा पेशेन्सको एक्जाम्पल दिन्छु. यो मान्छे हेर्नुस्. यो दुईटा मध्ये यङ्गर मान्छे छ नि, यो चाहिँ चेला हो, यो चाहिँ गुरु हो है। अनि रुस्का भन्ने यसको नाम, एन्स रुस्का। यो एन रुस्काले इलेक्ट्रोन माइक्रोस्कोप बनाउनु भएको 1931 मा। This microscope was made in 1930s, and for this microscope he got the Nobel Prize in 1986, more than 50 years. त्यसैले तपाईहरुले गरेको काम पक्कै पनि एकपल्ट रिवार्ड हुन्छ, नआत्तिनु होला। अब लास्टमा भन्छु तपाईलाई। अनि पढ्ने भनेको कुरा के हो भने नि, जस्तै तपाईहरु त 11 12 पनि पढ्दै हुनुहुन्छ भर्खर, केही पनि पढेको छैन मेरो दाँजोमा है। अब म एकदम ठुलो धेरै पढेको, के काम, मलाई के पनि आउँदैन है। म त्यसको एक्जाम्पल तपाईलाई भन्न चाहन्छु। दिस म्यान, यो संसारमा पृथ्वीमा जन्मेको साइन्टिस्टहरु मध्ये मेरो विचारमा he is the greatest scientist, much greater than Newton, Einstein, much greater. हजारवटा न्यूटन हो यो मान्छे। यो मान्छेले 5 कक्षा पढेको थियो, 5 class only. He was selling the newspaper. One day he saw in the newspaper that there is a vacancy in the laboratory of Sir Humphrey Davy, a famous scientist at that time. So he went there. He asked if he could apply for that position. Then the answer was, sorry, you cannot, because you have only 5 class. So then he told, the person told, okay, त्यसो भए तपाईले चाहिँ यसो कुच्चो सुच्चो लगाउने काम गर्ने भए चाहिँ तपाईले पाउनुहुन्छ भनेपछि he agreed. Why not? म सर हम्फ्रे डेवीको ल्याबमा कुच्चो लगाउने काम गर्छु अथवा नोकरको काम गर्छु. So he was a kind of servant to Sir Humphrey Davy. र उहाँले पत्ता लगाएको कुराहरुको तपाईहरुले सुन्नु भएको पनि होला, ग्यास लिक्विफेक्सन, बेन्जिन पत्ता लगाउने, इलेक्ट्रोम्याग्नेटिक इन्डक्सन, माइकल फ्याराडेको इलेक्ट्रोलाइसिस इत्यादि। उहाँले अहिले भएको भए उहाँले कम से कम 3टा नोबेल प्राइज पाउनुहुन्थ्यो। बट ही वाज अलमोस्ट इलिटरेट। त्यसैले आफ्नो काममा एकदम ध्यान दिनुपर्छ र यो विचार गर्नुपर्छ कि कहिले काहीँ रिस्क हुन्छ हेर्नुस्, किनभने नि तपाईले जुन ठुलो काम गर्न लाग्नु भएको छ त्यहाँ छेक्ने कुराहरु धेरै हुन्छ। There are many things that hinder you. Never get frustrated. अब मेरो सकिन लाग्यो, तपाईहरुलाई म एक दुईटा एक्जाम्पल मात्रै भन्न चाहन्छु। मैले यो सबै कथा पनि अहिले भनेन, टाइम पनि सकिन लाग्यो। अरनिको भन्ने सुन्नु भएको छ। So he was born in this time, हेर्नुस् यहाँ 1200 तिर, 1200 तिर, 2000 भयो, 700-800 वर्ष अगाडि। उहाँ चाहिँ कुब्लाई खानको दरबारमा जानुभयो। He did a lot of works there. He is our Nepali engineer. हेर्नुस् कस्तो तगडा इन्जिनियर होला 800 वर्ष अगाडिको। So he was Nepali engineer. He was there, and then the Kublai, the Kaiser, Samrat, China ko Samratले सोध्नु भयो, who is your teacher? He should have replied, I am my teacher. My teacher is inside me. मैले यो भन्दा धेरै कुरा भनेन, यो मात्र यति मात्र देखाउन चाहन्छु। यो 3 पल्टको भुइँचालो खप्ने इन्जिन यो हाम्रो भक्तपुरको न्याथपोल मन्दिर हाम्रो नेपालीहरुले बनाएको 1702 मा, 300 वर्ष अगाडि। यो मणिहिटी पाटनको 570 एडी मा बनेको त्यो बेलामा 1600 वर्ष अगाडि अथवा 1400 वर्ष 1500 वर्ष अगाडि। यसमा अहिले पनि पानी आउँछ, मैले नदेखेको धेरै भयो, अहिले पनि आउँछ होला। नेपालीहरुले बनाएको यो गेहेन्द्र शमशेरको बारेमा पनि सुन्नु भएको होला। He was not so much literate, त्यस्तो एजुकेटेड हुनुहुन्थेन, but he was so brilliant. त्यसकारणले हामी त्यस्तो पुर्खाको सन्तानहरु हो भनेर मैले तपाईहरुलाई यो मात्रै भन्न खोजेको हो, त्यो भन्दा छैन। अब मेरो लेक्चर सकियो, अब के गर्ने त? भन्दाखेरिमा नि अब गोल 17 मा म आए। हाम्रो थापाजीकै प्रेजेन्टेसनबाट मैले इन्स्पायर भएको है। गोल 17 मा के छ भने पार्टनरशिप। We can achieve any goals, but we need to do partnership. आज यूएस मा भएको साथीले प्रेजेन्टेसन दिनुभयो, सर्नमा सायद तपाई युरोपमा हुनुहुन्छ होला, त्यहाँबाट प्रेजेन्टेसन दिनुभयो। नेपालमा हुनुहुन्छ होला, वर्ल्ड बैंकको साथी कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ मलाई थाहा छैन, त्यहाँबाट दिनुभयो। हाम्रो यहाँ नेपालकै पनि कुन ठाउँबाट सुनिरहेको होला मान्छेहरु, इन्टरेक्सन गरिरहेको होला। So this all is due to collaboration. र यो कोलाबोरेसन किन भइरहेछ भन्देखि म त्यो पनि तपाईलाई भन्न चाहन्छु, किनभने there is corona. यो कोरोना मैयालाई पनि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद भन्नुपर्छ। उहाँले गर्दाखेरिमा हामी यो गर्न पाइरहेका छौं। यदि उहाँ नभएको भए सायद हामी यो पनि गर्न सक्दैथ्यौं। So inter-institutional collaboration, intra-institutional collaboration, international collaboration, youth participation, these are the things that we need. र त्यो हामी गरिरहेका छौं अहिले। त्यसकारणले we are doing a great job. र म विशेष गरी हाम्रो यो यङ साइन्टिस्ट यो कम्युनिटीको भाइ बहिनीहरूलाई भाइहरू नै छ जस्तो यहाँ सबैजना सबैलाई म एकदमै धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु सो यु हेभ आवर सपोर्ट टु यु अल द टाइम एनी टाइम जहिले पनि अब भना के गर्न सक्छु र तपाईको सपोर्ट भने के हो भने नि सपोर्ट मिन्स द्याट द फिलिङ द्याट समवान इज विथ यु त्यो साँच्चीकै गर्ने भने त्यसपछि आउँछ त्यस कारणले तपाईँ यो फिल गर्नु होला कि वी आर विथ यु एन्ड आई एम भेरी भेरी ह्याप्पी द्याट आई कुड वर्क विथ यु म आज सबै लेक्चर पनि राम्रोसँग ध्यान दिएर सुने पनि मलाई एकदमै रमाइलो पनि लाग्यो तपाईँहरूले जुन इनिसिएटिभ लिनुभयो यसमा म एकदमै धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु र मेरो सकियो मेरो टाइम पनि सकिन लाग्यो म हाम्रो यङ साइन्टिस्ट कम्युनिटीको भाइहरू सबैलाई हाम्रो अमितलाई विशाललाई प्रवेशलाई रोनेनलाई अरू को छ यहाँ मैले नाम फेरि मलाई ठ्याक्कै याद कण्ठ भएन अनि तपाईँहरूले चाहिँ यति ठुलो कुरा गर्नुभयो यसको लागि म एकदमै बधाई पनि भन्न चाहन्छु र मेरो मन्तव्य सक्यो तपाईहरुलाई एकदमै शुभकामना छ यु आर अलवेज वेलकम इन रिकास्ट अनि राष्ट्रिय आविष्कार केन्द्र दुबईमा एनी टाइम यु क्यान नक आवर डोर यु क्यान एनी टाइम कल मी यु क्यान एनी टाइम राइट मी र मलाई पनि त्यस्तो पर्यो भने म तपाईहरुलाई भन्छु हेर्नुस् आई निड योर हेल्प आई निड योर सपोर्ट है यो होइन कि आई क्यान सपोर्ट यु नो यु क्यान सपोर्ट मी मच बेटर वे मच मोर स्ट्रङली देन आई क्यान डु टु यु म तपाईहरुलाई फेरि एकपल्ट धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु मेरो आजको दिन चाहिँ नि भेरी स्पेशल मलाई चाहिँ एकदमै कहिले काहीँ कुनै फ्रस्ट्रेसन आयो म के पनि हुँदैन भन्ने लाग्यो भनेदेखि नि आई विल रिमेम्बर दिस डे म एकदमै थ्यांक यू भन्छु ल नमस्कार मेरो सकियो यति नै हो थ्यांक यू जय होस्
थ्यांक यू सो मच सर I think Vishal, I think we are at the end of the event, and yeah, okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone present over here, as you all have been a wonderful audience. I'd like to show my sincere gratitude to all the patrons who are the RECAST and Young Science Community YSC for helping our.
मैले लकीको नाम लिने बिर्सेछु यहाँ मैले लकीलाई भर्खर देखेँ थ्यांक यू.
Okay, sir, for helping me to organize this event so well. I organized this event in partnership with deeplearning.ai. I'd like to thank them as well. I want all of you present over here, very few of you are present over here. I'd like you all to fill the feedback form provided by deeplearning.ai company through email, and so that we could provide you the participation certificates. And for being the member of Young Scientist community, we'll be providing you the email, and you can fill the form and be a part of this initiative. I'd like to thank, I'm very, very grateful to Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari sir, because he has helped me a lot to organize this event, from talking to speakers as well as sharing the event in various social media platforms. I'm very, very thankful to you, Dr. Rameshwar Adhikari sir. You have been a wonderful senior for all of us, and you are an inspiration for all of us as well. And I'd also like to thank all of the speakers for trusting me organize this event, as this is an initiative for helping all the high schoolers over the Nepal. And they trusted me, and they came over here and gave us very good insights about artificial intelligence and data science. I'd also like to thank Proves, Ronan, and Lucky from YSC for helping me to organize this event so well. I'd also like to thank Bishal Neupane for being such a wonderful anchor. I think that's all from my side. And Bishal, I think you can conclude the presentation now, event now. And you also have the details of all the speakers present about the event. If you want to contact them individually, then you can connect them through LinkedIn, as well as email them through the emails which are provided here. Please take a quick screenshot of this so that you don't have regret later. Okay, that's all from my side, I think. Yeah, Vishal, if you have anything to share more, then you can share. And we are at the end of the session, and we are good to end this event now. Yeah.
मेरो एउटा शब्द भन्नु बाँकी रहेछ. यो हाम्रो राजेन्द्र, त्यसपछि राजेन्द्र सहितको टिमलाई पनि यहाँ हाम्रो सानो भाइ बहिनीहरूलाई हेल्प गर्नको लागि यहाँ तपाईँ दिनभरि बस्नु भनेको थिएँ, उहाँहरू बस्नुभयो, उहाँलाई पनि एकदमै धन्यवाद भन्छु है. थ्यांक यू.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for helping us organize this event so well.
अनि हाम्रो पत्रकार सर पनि आउनु भएको हुनुपर्छ. I did not see him. I did not notice him. पत्रकार एकजना छत्रजी आउनु भएको छ. छत्र सर हुनुहुन्छ?
छत्र थाहा भएन.
ल ठीक छ. एनीवे उहाँ आएर जानु भएको पनि हुन सक्छ. ओके, मेरो कुरा सक्यो. मैले बीचमा इन्टरभेन गरेँ, सरी.
Yeah, I think I'm also done with my talk. And Vishal, I think you can conclude the presentation event now.
Okay, thank you very much for joining the session, and we had a lot. We had a good time, I think. And if you have any feedback, then you can contact either Amit or me. And thank you for being here. And I think it's the end of the session.
Yeah, I'd like to add more one thing. Please don't forget to fill the feedback form so that we will provide you the participant certificate. And I also request the speaker student over here to please fill the feedback form, give your suggestions about how's the event so that we will be will conduct future events more properly. And that's from my side. I think we are good to end this session now. Yeah, Bishal, I think we can end the session now.
Yeah, Rajendra Joshi,